Hello, Style Esports fans, and welcome to a quarterfinal matchup here in the Style Esports Season 2 playoffs. Today we have a best of three here between the Syndicate, the number 3 seed, and the defending champions of Style Esports, and TDMA, that's Team Dark Matter Academy, the number 1 seed in this playoff bracket. Pretty exciting matchup for you this evening. I am, of course, Jarl Carl, bringing you the action alongside Axeman87. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing just fine, thank you. I am Axeman87, like you mentioned, and yeah, pretty exciting. Got the quarterfinal matchup here. The Syndicate, Team Dark Matter Academy. Team Dark Matter Academy, of course, the first seed right now. So Syndicate have quite the series lined up for them. It'll be giant killing here tonight, and yeah, I'm excited to get started.
As am I. Should be jumping into Champ Select in just a couple of seconds. We'll see what these teams have prepared for us. Of course, playoff match starting to be, getting into those later stages in the playoffs. Every match is difficult, so got to pull out the secret pocket picks. We'll see if Pure Salt and OTGG, the bot lane for the Syndicate, pull out their patented Callista Shen. Could be a hit. We'll also see if Axeman's favorite Aatrox is picked here in the top lane. I know you have some thoughts about that one.
Yeah, I hope not, but yeah, just to kind of start out the draft here, Syndicate is a team that likes to kind of switch up those roles from time to time, get different players, different roles, stuff like that. Looks like they've been going with their more recent comp, Toxic Vein in the top lane, Pure Salt EC, Underfire mid. It's kind of a more recent switch up, very different from last season, certainly, but nothing new here. This is one we've been seeing the last couple series that we have streamed them, so a bit more standard for you. And TDMA looks to be much the same as well. Moy on the mid lane, JT on ADC, Jay the Deeps in the support role, excuse me. And interesting to know as well, both these teams had a lot of representatives in the Style Esports All-Star event that happened just a few weeks ago. So two very, very good teams, to be sure.
Absolutely, definitely a treat of a match for you all this evening. Like you said, the bot lane, JT and Jay the Deeps, multiple J's in the bot lane. Very important to have that name synergy down there. We know both these bot lanes do like to play for those aggressive early game kills. Level 2 power spike, especially being very important here in Style Esports, something I talk about a lot as an AD carry myself. Very interested in that. As we see some pocket picks coming through in the ban list. The Jhin banned out against Pure Salt. Syndicate been very outspoken about it. They think that's his best champion, and I've seen it. I think every game that I have cast of Syndicate that Jhin has been banned against him. I believe it even got banned in the All-Star game. So that's some serious respect for Pure Salt's Jhin coming out. Other bans, reasonably standard. Aphelios, Sejuani, both very strong. Obviously in the meta, Sejuani, super tanky jungler, everybody's nightmare. Free stun, essentially, unless you're X-Smithy, coming across with the ultimate, and Aphelios, very safe AD carry, so pretty standard bans, although the Kale and the Yi a little bit more targeted.
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of late game bans as well too. With the Aphelios, Kale, and then on the flip side with Jhin as well. So maybe both these teams looking for more of an early game, which I think would definitely make more sense for the Syndicate. Just looking at the stats, with only 26 games played, they had something like 1,000 assists. So just a whole lot of takedowns coming through, 500 kills, something like that. And when compared to TDMA's Academy, their 22 games, everything across the board is about half. So Syndicate very much an early game, kind of just get in your face, steamroll type team. And I think they'll definitely be looking for some early game here. They got the Trundle pick coming out for you, so it could be the start to a strong early game team.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen Style Esports fans will be aware that Syndicate loves to pump that gas pedal. They are always looking to engage, looking to counter engage, and always go for a bit more fighting if they're able to. And that Zoe will enable them to go for some picks if they can, as well as ensuring their kind of throughout the game strength. Zoe very annoying at all stages of the game. If she can put you asleep, she's annoying. So that's something to watch out for. Tarek also a very strong team fighter. Could be the start of a bit of a team fight comp. The Trundle very good also against any kind of tanks that might get picked up by TDMA. A little bit surprised not to see the Xayah locked in along with that Rakan. Have to think that might be on the ban list, but perhaps they don't really want the Xayah Rakan anyway. They just want that Rakan support for its individual strengths. We'll see what way they go. They decide to go for the Wukong instead, kind of ubiquitously hated on in solo queue now after the rework, I think, by most people. The double ultimate, and if you include the clone, the quadruple ultimate. Pretty annoying to play against, so something to watch out for.
4 times ultimate's very annoying, but yeah, I think we might be seeing the pool party comp come out from Syndicate with Tarek and Zoe. Tarek's just been so strong recently, right? He's actually been lined up for some nerfs, I think, in the next patch in 10.10. So Syndicate definitely getting their eyes onto that strong pick. And here comes the Ornn ban. So no Ornn this game. I think we're in agreement, Carl, that Ornn is pick ban, and it's actually TDMA that bans out Xayah.
Interesting.
Yeah, you could shoot yourself in the foot, but I would have to question the tactical advantage of doing so. And it definitely seems like that's what they've done. Now, you mentioned Rakan, not a bad champion in his own right. And I think engaged supports, especially in Season 10, have been very, very strong. So I think Rakan's probably just good by himself. But it kind of makes you wonder why you would ban the Xayah, right? I mean, it's cool if you don't pick the Xayah, but I don't see any reason to ban it, right?
Yeah, a little bit questionable. Not entirely sure. Maybe they're just scared of Pure Salt. Maybe he's just too good. A little bit scared of that Xayah Tarek lane. Definitely would be a very safe lane. Of course, you have both the Tarek ultimate and the Featherstorm from Xayah able to get himself to safety. So maybe just not wanting to face it. Don't want to have the battle of the lovers in the bot lane, but also not really wanting. Maybe they didn't want to pick it right away. Not sure. You'd think that they would just not ban it in that case, but whatever. They're making the choices that they do make. Obviously, these teams both very experienced and very prepped, so we will give them the benefit of the doubt on this one as the Mordekaiser comes through. Pretty standard top laner that I've been seeing a little bit more in solo queue in the last couple of days. Seems still pretty strong. Conqueror, of course, still a very good keystone on the champion, so able to sustain in most matchups and not really get bullied too hard. We'll see what gets picked here for the Syndicate as they locked in the Ezreal to complete their bot lane. Another very safe lane, able to arcane shift to safety, and of course keep everybody alive with the Tarek ult as well.
Yeah, safety kind of the name of the game with the Syndicate comp, with that kind of fan favorite Vladimir pick coming through for Toxic Vein. Safety is just really the common denominator across the board. Zoe, Ezreal, Vladimir, all very safe champions. Combined with Tarek and Trundle to kind of just hammer it home. This is just kind of a make the enemy come to us and then they'll just never catch us kind of comp. Now, over on the other side here on TDMA, there's a lot of chase down there. Yeah, Rakan, Wukong. Just a lot coming at you and some siege potential as well from the Ziggs and Varus. So this could be an interesting show.
I think it will be very important to see what kind of build JT does plan to go for on this Varus, whether it will be the poke build that has been gaining a little bit more popularity, going Comet and lethality items, or if he decides to go for the more standard Bork, Rage Blade, Lethal Tempo, kind of that on-hit style that Varus is kind of known for. It's not I don't think a super clear-cut choice this game. It depends kind of how they want to be fighting. If it's more of a team fight style, I think would be more likely to see him go for the Lethal Tempo. Whereas if they are trying to just get that siege in with Moyo on the Ziggs, I think we'd be much more likely to see that lethality Varus come through. Not a super tanky team, but not a crazily squishy team either. The Trundle's kind of tanky. Toxic Vein on the Vladimir will build some armor. OTGG as well. So I think either build is viable in this game and kind of will depend on what they want to be doing as a team. But I think the Varus pick overall, I think, is quite strong. In the bot lane, it does very well against Ezreal, able to bully him out in lane, land some poke, and the Tarek shouldn't pose that much of a problem for him either. A little bit longer here on the spectator delay. Gotta wait for that timer to go down. 2.5 minutes before we do load on to the Rift. Of course, don't have the benefit of that professional broadcasting like they do on the LCS. Don't have to wait, but we're just waiting it out here. 2.5 minutes to go as we continue to look at these team comps. Axeman, I believe, is back.
Yes, I am back.
He's
Sorry
back.
about that, but you were mentioning builds, and there's a couple of champions on the board here that have kind of some variety in their build. I know there's been a lot of different Ezreal builds we've seen, especially with the runes, and we'll be able to see what they're taking into this game. And I think what definitely isn't going to change, what's definitely for sure about this game is just there's so much damage. I mean, in literally any of the champions here, there's so much really just carry potential. Apart from the supports, there aren't really any kind of support type or real tanks here or anything like that. So there's going to be just tons of damage coming through. And just to touch on what you were saying about JT on Varus, I think there's kind of a world where they just go for more burst, right? And combo with that Ziggs and Wukong, and maybe just have kind of like a pick comp type deal where they just find somebody and absolutely erase them, because I'm not sure there's a whole lot of champions that the Syndicate have that would be resistant to something like that. I mean, they're all very safe, but there's only so much you can really deter when there's that much damage coming at you. So I think a pick comp might be in order for TDMA.
Yeah, something to look forward to. I would probably be going lethality in this game. You know, there's no real true tank on the side of the Syndicate that would essentially just eradicate any damage that's thrown at him by JT. You know, you end up with that 300 armor Malphite that you hit with a piercing arrow full charge, and it does, 110 damage, and you're kind of scratching your head wondering how you're supposed to beat such an unbalanced champion. So in this game, I think it's definitely viable. You know, OTGG won't have enough armor on that Taric to completely nullify the damage from JT. On the flip side, while the Syndicate team might not be able to withstand the poke, if you're JT, he could find himself in all sorts of trouble in a very rapid fashion. Vladimir flash engage, Zoe lands a bubble, Ezreal can burst, even Xavian throwing that pillar out, knocking him back into the team. So, definitely you got to be careful. If you are JT, no mobility and not a ton of peel for himself, or Khan more likely to be kind of engaging and stuck in the backline along with the Wukong. So JT and Moyo on the Ziggs could find themselves in a little bit of trouble if the backline is able to get, kind of flanked or engaged on somehow, if the Syndicate is able to avoid the counter engage by TDMA.
Yeah, very much a game where that'll be decided by kind of whoever pulls the trigger first, right? I mean, if you're Zoe, you can pull the sleepy trouble bubble off onto somebody and kind of engage that way. You're almost guaranteed a fight, being able to take down a carry that way. But just the same in the opposite direction. If JT can get another pick like that, they could definitely get themselves an easy team fight as well. We were talking about different builds, things like that at the just earlier, and it looks like we might have a couple answers here for ourselves. That Varus build, taking that lethal tempo, makes me think they're going a little more for that shred, that attack speed type deal, maybe a Bork, something like that.
Yeah, you would think so. Do not see at all Ezreal's going lethality after you take lethal tempo, so that would be a little bit of an int, I feel, from JT. Of course, we may still see it, but I would expect the Bork Rune or Bork Rageblade on this Varus going for more of a team fight style. Not sure how effectively he's going to be able to just kind of hit frontline, which is what you want to be achieving when you are playing on hit Varus. The Vladimir is not really that easy to hit. If you can hit him, he can ult you, and that's usually not great. Would be able to hit onto the Trundle, but Taric not, a super well-known frontliner for his team, more likely to kind of just try to land the ultimate and keep his team alive, maybe throw out a stun on somebody else that's engaging, maybe that Vladimir. So we'll see if JT is able to find targets to hit while keeping himself safe. Not the highest range rated carry, not like a Caitlyn or a Senna or anything like that. He is stuck in that 500 area for range, so we'll see if he's able to keep himself alive. Does have the heal as well. We didn't touch on summoners too much. I thought he might go for the cleanse choice, but has gone for the heal, a little bit more lane power for himself, hoping to be able to fight and maybe keep himself alive a little bit more, as we see also a 2-1 teleport lead for TDMA.
Yeah, so I actually take that teleport, which I find interesting. I mean, going to Zoe, I feel like you take cleanse, but especially on a kind of an immobile champion like Ziggs, but maybe feeling pretty confident here, confident enough to take that teleport. But we'll see if that plays out for them here as we move into the game in that mid lane here. But Ender Fire on Zoe, I think pretty normal, taking that ignite, trying to get a little bit more kill pressure. I think that makes a lot of sense, just being able to delete the enemy and gain an advantage that way. And yeah, nothing else. It's really standing out to me too much. Yeah. I mean, we do have Conquer on Ezreal, which I don't think is too crazy, but
No. Definitely pretty standard. You want that Conqueror on Ezreal. There was a little while where we were all kind of flirting with the lethal tempo choice for the Explorer, but realized the fault in our ways and went back to the Conqueror. Just better for team fighting. You get a lot of spells out, able to keep yourself a little bit topped up. You have a little bit less burst than you might if you had the Conqueror, or than if you had lethal tempo rather. But in the end, this will end up being just a lot more consistent damage output for Ezreal, as a little bit more of a team fight. Meta has evolved. We don't want to be just 1v1ing people with lethal tempo. The Conqueror, very helpful, and it's really easy to stack with Ezreal as well. He throws so many spells out that account for 2 of those needed 10 stacks to proc that ability. So should see him making use of that. Other keystones look pretty similar, not pretty similar, pretty standard across the board. Moyo going for that Comet, landing tons of poke. We mentioned the poke comp. Maybe they're just saying Moyo's enough on his own. We only need a one-man siege machine, and it's just Ziggs, because he can throw out a lot of pain pretty quickly.
Yeah, if they were a champion that was a one-man siege machine, I would say it's probably Ziggs. He's got a lot of bombs.
A lot of bombs.
Throwing those bombs down range, and he's got a lot of siege potential for sure. Both junglers getting those early wards off and backing for the Oracle lens, excuse me. I almost said sweeping lens, but it's been a while, so I can't say that anymore. But yeah, it's a good start. I like it. It's a good focus on vision, I think. Getting that deep vision off is very important. I believe TDMA were able to get some deeper vision off than the Syndicate were, so they have a little bit of an advantage. They're a little bit better jungle tracking, too. They will know where Xavian is, at least here at the start. Kind of like, it's good that they do that, good that they have that focus. I don't really think anyone was expecting Trundle to come flying out of the jungle here in the first couple minutes, but it's never bad to track the enemy jungler. I really would have liked to see the Syndicate maybe try to lure to get some tracking on Wukong, a jungler that will come flying out of the jungle and try to kill you early, especially, right? So that could be an issue for them. Bisq might actually be able to get away with murder here, especially in the mid lane and top lane, really, too. Some very immobile champions here in the Syndicate solo lanes.
Yeah, absolutely. They're not a ton of movement on this team, like you just said. We only have the dash on Pure Salt. A little bit of a fight here. Bisq has come in, did manage to steal away that drop. Squib is here first as well. Toxic Vein coming down. Conqueror being procced. The flash forced out from Xavian. Not sure he needed to actually expend the summoner, but he does. There's the pillar. Bisq gonna have to flash in his own turn to try to get away. Squib flashing out as well, away from Enderfire, who is going to be able to pick up the first blood onto him. That is first blood going over to the Zoe in the mid lane. Certainly not what TDMA was looking for.
No, not at all. And with Squib responding that fast, it's almost a shame, right? It really seemed like TDMA might have had a good fight for themselves there. But yeah, I think you're right. Not really sure Xavian needed to flash there. I think that might have been a little bit of a misplay. I'm pretty sure that's just free engage. That's Mordekaiser E. But hey, he used it. They actually had some success there. So maybe it was worth. Who knows? But they will not have that summoner spell moving forward. Fortunately, neither will Squib or Bisq, both expending their flashes there. Squib actually dying despite using that summoner spell. Does walk all the way back to lane, though. Keeps that teleport on. I think it's a good discipline, Carl. I really don't like, immediately teleporting back in the lane. That said, he might be in trouble here.
Might find himself in all sorts of trouble. Xavian has paid him a repeat gank. Squib trying to flip the script here and run back the other direction, but it's not going to work out for him. Toxic Vein picking up that kill with a bit of transfusion. He's saying, I'll take your blood and I'll take your life. Picking up the kill for himself. Doing pretty well. A little bit of a fight in the bot lane. I mentioned earlier the power of this Varus in lane against Ezreal. Pretty clear lane advantage, I would say, for Jay of the Deeps and JT down here. Not necessarily in farm, but they have had a lot of pressure in this time and pretty easy control of the waves.
Yeah, for sure. And you already see that kind of pressure going on to the Taric a little bit from the lethal tempo. And really, even though the build hasn't come into fruition yet, just kind of echoes of what we're expecting to see, just being able to shred this Taric all the way down, right? It's very spooky for me if I'm a Syndicate fan. For sure. But yeah, with that, Carl, the Syndicate top side of the map is already looking so strong right now. 103 combined between the three of them up in the top side. Looking very, very good. We do have that first dragon up now, though, so maybe an opportunity for TDMA to play around the bottom side of the map. Could arise here. They do have a little bit of that priority here down the bot side of the map. It's just we were talking about just now, so could make a dragon play here.
Yeah, the Scuttle Crab did just expire for TDMA, so they do not have that available. Xavian, don't think he has actually been spotted yet, as he did sneak in, throw a controller down on the blue buff of TDMA, so they will have a little bit of that vision. Decides not to start up the dragon, maybe deciding just a little bit too risky. He did have a sweeper, but didn't want to commit to that, especially without that bot prio like we had mentioned. A little bit of a counter gank in the mid lane, but I think he's just going to be walking in, saying hello, and then walking back out. Gets blasted away by Moyo on the Ziggs. That satchel charge Definitely a very useful ability. A lot of utility you can get with that. Knock yourself away, knock yourself in, knock your opponent away, blow up a tower randomly while it has half its health left, seemingly. So a lot of uses of this ability. Ziggs, very creative champion. A lot of creative things you can do with that guy.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Ziggs players live and die by the satchel, right? If you can get the good satchel charges off, you're a good Ziggs. If you can't, well, you're going to have to pick another champion because that's most of where the utility comes from, right? But it looks like TDMA are going to be trying to take this
a fight for this.
Oh,
teleport actually in the back line. Toxic Vayne has come into the Squib, does not have the teleport. There's a flash engage from Toxic Vayne. The Flash is trying to get themselves out to safety. Vladimir has arrived in the back line. Bisk running for his life. We got a Congo line of Syndicate members chasing him down. He's going to be taken out. The Super Bomb from Moyo. Not going to do a whole lot. Mega Inferno Bomb. Not a very big Inferno on that one. Just a little Inferno.
Yeah, Moyo's in the TBA voice chat right now saying, "See, I helped. I was there. I was helping." Not too much coming out of that ultimate ability, but yeah, the Syndicate, as if part of a hive mind or something. You were saying a conga line, just all stacked directly on top of each other, coming from all corners of the map, and yeah, just absolutely destroying Bisk, who's probably saying something to the effect of, "Why me, God? Why me?" But yeah, it does go back to the Death Realm there. Not 100% sure Toxic Vayne needed to expend that flash or that engage. I think TMA was already walking towards him, but hey, they had some success, right? They're the ones that are 3-0. Who am I to say they misplayed it, right?
Definitely feel Bisk in the voice chat probably saying, "Worth, hey, I got the dragon. Listen to me." So they did pick up that first Infernal Dragon. So he's doing his job. Where's the team is what he's saying.
Doesn't matter, got dragon.
But it did go over to him. So they start in that little chain, are almost 1,000 gold down, like those 3 kills, like we have been saying. But Squib got a little bit of time up in the top lane to free farm and grab himself a plate when Toxic Vayne did expend that teleport, and he will have teleport advantage for a little while once his comes back up. So definitely some windows here for TDMA to get back into the game, although they are slightly behind at this point.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, most of their team is going to be relevant for the majority of this game, right? So I don't think they're hurting too bad. That said, Syndicate are looking for this first Rift Herald. That's going to be another big spike for them, especially if they manage to get it off onto some of the surf plating. And boy, do they have time for that. It's like another 5 minutes or something like that that they have to drop this Herald. I think
Bisk?
If they pick the Herald up right now, they might not. It might actually expire before then. So
this seems like a bit of an interesting engage here. Bisk going in the Cyclone. That's the double Cyclone. The Death Realm goes down. The red team has stolen that away. That is TDMA picking that up as Xavian had been taken into the Death Realm by Squid. Here's the quickness from Jay of the Deeps. The Flash gets the one charm onto OTGG. He's going to find himself in the Death Chamber. Enderfire going to have to flash away after he came out of the ultimate. Wanted to go back a little bit further. Had to use the flash after that portal jump back. But overall, nice response by TDMA to that Herald. Nice coordination, Squib with the Death Realm and the Smite from Bisk picking up that Herald.
Yeah, for sure. And Enderfire isn't out of the thick of it yet.
Could be finding himself in trouble. The flash, and he goes down. Bisk picking up that kill, and some fight is still left in TDMA. They contested that Herald. Very good coordination. They pick up the kill after as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That really did get them back in the game. I mean, they have a bit of a gold lead now, too, as well. A whole 1,000 gold lead here, and dropping this Herald onto the turret plating is going to get them even more gold. It's just Xavian who could defend this, and doesn't seem too interested in it. Probably just going to let that mid turret go down if TDMA are able to get it down. That said, it's got a whole lot of resistances here in the early game, so they might not be able to get all of it, but they... Oh, and I forgot the satchel existed. And
Never forget the satchel.
That turret is going to go down, Carl.
Yeah, I was about to flame TDMA actually for the use of that Herald, using it on the early plates, but that satchel charge does change everything. You can use it on whatever plates you want, because that satchel just going to blow up the turret once it's at, I believe, 25% HP or so. So
it's a 2k gold lead just because of the satchel. For God's sake.
That's an ability, everybody. Like we said, Ziggs, live and die by the satchel. Right now, they're living on the side of that satchel. Does have the ultimate back, so maybe it can have a little bit more impact than that first one did. But very nice conversion of the Herald, using that satchel charge, knowing they could break the mid tower, and that will open up the map for them. That dragon available in under a minute now, so look to see the teams go for this one. Bisk should be making his way back down there on the recall. Has a couple of purchases to make before this dragon spawns. It will be the Cloud Dragon on this one, so we will see a mountain or an ocean map. Definitely kind of different there, what they're trying to do. Resistances, or not different in what they're trying to do, similar in what they're trying to do. I'm losing my mind. Have the resistances in the form of a shield or overtime healing. We'll see which one of those maps comes through. Squib has recalled, and he has the teleport advantage, so watch for that if the teams decide to fight.
Yeah, and it looks like Syndicate have already made their way to the dragon here. They'll be on the defense. And just as I said that, it seems like they've given up on the dragon a little bit here. So maybe needing to make a little bit more of an effort for these early game objectives. They don't actually have any yet, despite kind of garnering themselves that early lead. So
might look to fight still. There's the true shot barrage. They're poking.
Poke, yeah. A little bit of a poke game going on here, leashing it for him, right?
They're just kind of... Jay the Deep's going to go forward to the quickness, actually engaging onto OTGG. He's going to find himself falling back to the death chamber. Squib picking up that kill. Didn't actually use the teleport. He just walked down here, secured the dragon, and secured another kill. Doing very well for himself. But Toxic Vein is free farming in the top lane. Something to watch out for. Jay the Deep's finding himself going very low. He's ignited. He may actually go down to this one. The shield is able to get that by using that E back to JT. So 80 carry, saving his support. He's saying thank you very much, getting himself out, but almost a kill from Enderfire as Toxic Vein once again farming up in the top.
Yeah, it did get pretty close there, Carl. That was a close one for sure. And like you mentioned, Toxic Vein free farming up in the top lane at 10 CS, lead ahead of Squib just now. And one of those win conditions that Syndicate can really look for is Toxic Vein on Vladimir. Definitely one of the champions Toxic Vein is more comfortable on. We've seen him a lot, more so in Season 1, but also in different events. The All-Star event, most notably, was also another Toxic Vein Vladimir performance. So definitely something they could look forward to, maybe getting that late game Vladimir going. It definitely wouldn't be bad to have the Ezreal and Zoe online as well, but it's looking like that might not be happening.
I want to point out the items. The Blade of the Ruin King completed now for JT, and the Morellonomicon Rush by Squib, trying to cut the healing of Toxic Vein, has now been completed. So 2 completed items now for TDMA. Should be a huge boon to them in the bot lane, fighting against Pure Salt and OTGG. Pure Salt has completed that Manamune on the Ezreal, but still not quite the same power spike that Varus does have. When he's able to get that Borg, that's a big spike for him, as we might see a bit of fighting in the top lane. Toxic Vein standing right next to Bisk without knowing it, uses the Sanguine Pool to try to get himself out. Will they dive? Bisk going to go into the tower, then decides better of it. No Cyclone available, just a couple of seconds, and they decide to call that play off. But the other side of the map, Xavian is here. We'll see if how the 2v3 goes. There's the Chain of Corruption going down from JT. Teleport coming through from Moyo. He's going to be joining this one. The Mega Inferno Bomb is available. Xavian down to half HP, walking himself out, and whole lot of fighting, not a lot of killing, as they do walk off. The flash of Xavian traded for the teleport of Moyo.
Yeah, and another redemption coming through. Syndicate are getting pretty lucky with these redemptions, I tell you what, but it's a lot of healing. Oh, uh-oh.
Another engage in the bot lane. There's more redemptions coming down. It's just a redemption fest at this point. Cosmic Radiance has come through to try to keep the side of Syndicate alive. JT maybe a little bit caught out of position here. Does not have the flash to get himself out. He's going to be going down. There's the Inferno Bomb coming through from Moyo. Not going to have a huge amount of effect. Squib channeling the teleport. He has joined the fray, but it's 1 versus 4. Flashing forward onto Pure Salt. Misses the Q. The Death Realm used onto Enderfire, who does have the fake flash, and we're going to see who is in the Death Realm with who. Squib just backing himself away, but he's going to find himself very low. Was actually in there with Xavian, I believe. Getting a little bit confused with the spectator situation. Does not matter. Xavian going down. Squib traded back for that. So teleports in just for the 1v1. Not entirely sure that was worth it. Once again, as Bisk is saying, hey, I don't even need my team. I'm going to go do the Herald.
I'm pretty sure he was in there with Enderfire, but I, like you, am also watching the spectator. So I'm not 100% sure on that one. But Xavian definitely going down there at the tail end of that Death Realm. And Toxic Vein, once again, free farming up the top lane. Now that CS lead is about 15, pushing 20. So, like you're saying, Bisk did solo that Rift Herald. He's got that sitting in his pocket for right now. No more turret plating, dropped about 2 minutes ago, so won't be able to benefit from that. But they can whack down another turret whenever he wants to. So,
especially with that satchel charge we mentioned earlier. Herald plus satchel equals 1 turret. It's just it's a bit of a recipe.
Pretty close, yeah. Especially with the inner turrets, I'd imagine you'd be able to take them down with the Herald Satchel combo. But no, it's pretty close on these outer turrets as well. So really, anything they want at this point, they can get one free turret. They got a discount card for one free turret here. But that next dragon's coming up less than a minute. That first mountain drag you're mentioning, it might be mountain, might be ocean. Gonna be mountain. So we're gonna see some resistances coming out, mostly for TDMA. If history proves anything. But, we could see some dragons come down for the Syndicate. I would hope so, for sure. It's pretty rough giving away all 4 elemental dragons and giving away that soul without taking at least one for yourself.
Yeah, that just feels super bad. Briefly, do want to mention, you talked about CS for a little bit. Take your attention to the jungle. Bisq has double the farm of Xavier, up 60 CS in the jungle. If we flip over to the gold very briefly, he is up 1,700 gold over the opposition jungler. So Bisq doing very well for himself this game, farming at the rate of his laners. Very well done by him, as the dragon has been started, but no TP for Squib. The Herald's been summoned in the mid lane by Bisq, but this is a 5 versus 4, and it looks like TDMA is just going to take the inner track on mid, give up this third dragon. They're saying, we already have 2, we don't even need a third, we're going to go take your mid lane. They're cashing in their free turret coupon as that mid turret has gone down. The Herald's still alive, likely will get a charge off on the inhibitor turret as well. So trading that first mountain dragon in exchange for the mid inner turret and 2/3 of the health on the inhibitor turret in the mid lane. As they do rotate up to top, they might look to continue the push.
And they got another turret up there at that top lane as well, right? And definitely continuing this push. They might get this inner turret. They have all 5 men up here to just the Syndicates too, so it could be a turret dive here, but the Syndicate are starting to arrive, starting to trickle in. Might be a 5v5 team fight, who knows?
Pure seen on the side, as we might look to see an engage. Cosmic Radiance has come down the Hemoplague as well. Toxic Vein trying to pick off Bisq. He's going very low, going to be taken out of this one. Xavian picks up that kill. Jay of the Deep's going to follow as well. Pure Salt has taken that one. JT finds himself in all sorts of trouble trying to pick up a kill in exchange, but it's not going to work out for him. The double kill going over to Pure Salt as the Syndicate is in full chase mode. It's an ace for themselves. 5 for 0 in that fight. A triple kill going over to Pure Salt as they wipe the map of TDMA members.
Yeah, the Syndicate, going against most conventional wisdom, have just somehow aced the enemy team despite being, I think before the fight, like 3k gold behind, something like that, with just the one dragon. Nuts. Not sure how they pulled that off. I mean, they do have some team fight things working in their favor, but I have to say most of that probably coming from Toxic Vein there, most of that damage. You mentioned Pure Salt did have the flank there as well. That played a little bit into it too, but yeah, not what I was expecting at all. I thought TDMA might have had the advantage in these team fights, and especially sieging a turret. I mean, they have Ziggs, they have Varus, they have all these tools, but it just didn't work out for them.
Yeah, I think very smart by the Syndicate to realize they could not withstand the siege. We've been talking so much about Moyo on the Ziggs being a one-man siege machine, and the Syndicate just saying, hey, we're not going to let you just throw bombs at us. We're going to go in. And they do have kind of that more team fight-oriented comp. Toxic Vein on the Vladimir. You have the Zoe throwing through the Paddle Stars, the Sleepy Trouble Bubbles, Ezreal throwing down the poke, and OTGG keeping everybody alive with that Cosmic Radiance. So little bit stronger of a team fight, it would appear so far, comp-wise at least. And also what we mentioned earlier about JT finding himself in a lot of trouble in these fights is kind of coming to fruition. He's found it very hard to find targets to hit while also keeping himself safe. He's been taken out kind of just left for dead in the middle of the team fight, not fast enough or mobile enough to get himself out. He just kind of has to fight until he dies. And he's been going down a couple of times so far on the Varus 0-2, but working toward that Rage Blade when he will be able to just totally shred OTGG apart if he is not ultimated up by that Cosmic Radiance, his own ultimate, of course. So we'll see if he's able to find targets in the fight. Also, maybe look for a few more picks like we talked about with that Chains of Corruption, maybe the quickness as well. Get a pick and maybe keep this dragon comp rolling. Get a few mountain dragons for yourself, a little more resistance, and if they can get that Mountain Soul, their siege becomes even more dangerous because you can withstand any counter poke that might come through, kind of have those regenerating shields come through. So could be a win condition for them if they are not able to 5v5 at this point in time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think really one of the issues with the last team fight was just more of a specific positioning versus spacing. Just kind of an issue. There aren't a whole lot of abilities on the Syndicate side that can hit multiple champions. The few that are have very narrow hitboxes. The stun coming out from Tarek, especially. Oh, no, I have a team fight here.
Speaking of the stun coming out from Tarek, OTGG finds himself going down despite the stun. Biss got an interesting little flank. Not actually sure how he got in that bush. But there is that. Oh, Squib taken out by the True Shot Barrage. Trading that back. Was going to keep talking about that satchel charge. Picking up that turret for themselves. But they did pay for it with Squib's life. Not quite sure how he got taken out so fast on that one. Couple of abilities landing at the same time will spell your fate. So in the end, 1-for-1, but the turret went over to TDMA.
Yeah, and Pearsall making a really big comeback here. I mean, I mentioned it would be difficult for the Ezreal and the Zoe to come back online, and they really have. I mean, 405 and the Ezreal looking very strong right now. But yeah, really just kind of a spacing issue from TDMA. If you get bunched up, you can all get hit by an ability like Tarek's stun. Normally it would be difficult for it to hit multiple targets, but if you're all literally right next to each other, it's possible for them to get like 3 or 4 stuns out of it, right? All other abilities, Vlad abilities, Ezreal as well, True Shot Barrage, not the widest of skill shots, or actually probably one of the wider ones, but it's not normally expected that you would hit the entire enemy team with it. So kind of just a spacing issue, I would think. If they spread out a little bit more, I think they'll probably do a lot better in these fights.
Teleport coming through here. Squib got put to sleep. The teleport came through from Toxic Vein. Moyo is on the way. All the ultimates are available except for the quickness on Jay of the Deeps. No engage possible from this Rakan for just a couple of more seconds. Poke rolling through the bombs as well. Gets put to sleep, but he satchel charges himself out to safety to keep himself alive. Going to try to not regroup with his team, actually. Still going for this flank. They are all grouped up, the Syndicate. They are in danger of a Mega Inferno bomb. Everybody just kind of doing the dragon dance. He does a flash forward from Toxic Vein. He says, I don't want to dance anymore. Let's just fight. Cosmic Radiance comes down as well. Enderfire trying to keep himself alive. Not hit by the Cosmic Radiance. JT cutting out in the backline. Zavian going to be taken out. You have to think JT has picked that one up. Moyo running for his life. Puresalt going to hit him with the True Shot Barrage to take him out. OTGG finds himself in all sorts of trouble as Puresalt has now arrived in the fight. Squib going to be taken down. The Hemoplague had been saved. It's still alive. JT has to flash out, but he's not going to get very far. Taken out now by the Ezreal. The quadra kill coming through. This could be the pentakill for Puresalt here in the quarterfinals. Bisk looking to make a bit of a turnaround. Toxic Vein has arrived on the scene as well. Puresalt fighting up against Bisk. Toxic Vein doesn't want to take the kill from his teammate. Will the Penta go over the shutdown on Toxic Vein, actually? Painful with his life, but a pentakill goes over to Puresalt here in the quarterfinals. The 80 carry for the Syndicate coming up huge in that fight as they wipe TDMA off the map and take the dragon.
I'm sure we've had a couple in Style Esports League. I don't know if we've had one live yet, though. Puresalt trying to take this dragon, but Moyo's here? Oh, he gets it. It gets away, too. Wow, yeah, very close there. Moyo almost ruined Puresalt's night there, but yeah, Puresalt picks up the pentakill. Not what I was expecting. I mentioned earlier, I didn't even think Puresalt could get back in this game. Now he's 9-0-5. And I guess I'm hanging up my casting belt. I don't know, but the Syndicate coming back in force on Summoner's Rift.
Yeah, doing very well for themselves in that fight. Enderfire walking himself away in the mid lane as Zavian making a beeline for the Baron here. Just clearing out a little bit of vision for himself. That is a big swing, you have to think, in this game. Morale-wise, gold-wise, power-wise, everything-wise for this one. Puresalt not quite able to complete that Blade of the Ruined King, but he is just a couple of 100 gold short of that. That is another huge spike for the Ezreal. Kind of turns him from mostly a poke machine into somebody who really can team fight effectively. And we've seen him get a pentakill already, so not sure I should be saying he's not effective earlier in the game at the team fighting, but he's more able to fight the tanks at that point in the game. Not that there are that many on TDMA's side, so maybe I'm just crazy. We're both hanging up the belts after this game. This is the last time you'll hear from us.
This is it, everybody.
So, hope you enjoyed, but Enderfire, Puresalt might find themselves caught out. Puresalt just going to arcane shift over the wall, though.
Oh,
Enderfire,
wow.
not quite so lucky. He's going to take it out. The quickness of the Cyclone. Expended Bisk says, hey, I've got another Cyclone for you. Do you want to see it? Chain of Corruption goes by. Puresalt going to be shifting forward, feeling very confident in this fight. He is legendary now, 10-0. Hemoplague going to pick up the kill onto JT. Toxic Vein. Very nice counter engage. Picks up a double for himself, saying, Puresalt, hey, you're hogging all the kills. Give me some. Picking up a couple for himself in this fight as the Syndicate move toward the Baron.
Yeah, and they shouldn't have too much trouble picking up this Baron. One thing I'll say, Carl, is that it's very rare to get a Pentakill right. It's almost impossible to get two, and part of that is just because of the inherent difficulty of getting the Pentakill, killing all 5 members of the enemy team, right? But part of it is also because once you've done it once, the enemy team, A, knows you could do it, B, knows they have to stop you, right? I mean, they know they have to focus. They know they have to kill in these fights to win them because you're literally the one winning the fights in any team, right? So it's kind of a double-edged sword. Now everybody on the side of Team UMA is like, we got to kill Pure Salt and we got to kill him soon if we're going to win these fights, right? So Pure Salt, in a lot of ways, made this game very much more difficult for themselves here. That said, he's on the Ezreal, pretty safe. It's going to be difficult for Team UMA to pick that champion. Especially early in a team fight. I think they might eventually catch him, but there's a lot of things keeping that Ezreal safe through these fights.
Absolutely. Also want to shout out his positioning. In that last fight, saw Jay of the Deeps, cast the quickness, just arcane shifted out of the way, didn't even try to save his teammate Ender Fire, which, you know, we can question whether that was the right decision, but gets himself out of harm's way, waits for the Cyclone to come out, waiting for that Chain of Corruption to miss as well, and that's when he started shifting forward going into the fights. So I think being very smart about keeping himself safe in these fights and not committing until those abilities have been used by the opposition team. You want to figure out what abilities are going to cause you trouble and then wait for those to be used before you do go in. My own point going to be cut short. Moyo going very low, has to get himself out the quickness to re-engage as well, but Squib has been taken very low in this one. Not sure this is the fight they want. Jay the Deeps has to go back out the Cyclone trying to keep his team alive, but it's just not going to be very effective. Pure Salt, legendary now, picking up another kill for himself, shifting forward under the turret. He's tanking the tower. He says, I don't care. Squib and Moyo in the backline, very low. JT going to be taken out by the Hemo Plague of Toxic Vein as well, doing very well for himself. The Flash expended 5, 1 and 13 now on the Lord of Blood here in the mid lane, picking up the inner turret as well. Only 2 members to defend. Moyo, really hard to clear in the best of times against Baron buff. The Ziggs helps, but just not able to do it by himself. Squib has arrived, but I'm not sure this tower is defensible.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'd be able to pick up this one. I mean, the Syndicate don't have a satchel charge like Moyo does, but those turrets go down just as fast here at this point. It's a lot of damage coming out of the Syndicate. And I was mentioning, you know, TDMA had an easier time now that they know they have to focus Pure Salt. Not sure about that. I mean, there's a lot of damage coming out of the Syndicate, right? Obviously Pure Salt's a good target, but just in that last fight, we saw Toxic Vein doing so much damage in those fights. And really, what's worse about this Vladimir is that damage is AoE in a lot of cases, right? I mean, it's hitting everybody on the team, as opposed to Pure Salt is maybe just catching on a few of the skill shots after True Shot Barrage comes out. But yeah, it's kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. Picking a target at this point, and with only so many AoE abilities coming through from TDMA, they really got to choose their targets carefully, especially if you're Bisc on Wukong, who I don't envy at all. Because despite having tons of damage and being this kind of bruiser pseudo-assassin, who do you go after in these fights, right? I mean, you have a lot of good targets, but no matter who you pick, there's somebody else who can kill you just as easily as your target. Yeah. So it's very difficult here, but Syndicate are going to be picking up their 3rd Mountain Drag. They're going to be going for Dragon Soul against all odds. I tell you, Carl, I know the Syndicate's good, right? I mean, defending champions. They made it to quarterfinals. We've seen them, you know, demolish teams, but I wasn't expecting them to come back this hard.
Squib. Not sure this is the place Squib wants to be at this point. Doesn't even use the Death Realm. He accepts his fate, going into his own Death Realm in the Death Chamber for the next 40 seconds. That kill picked up by the Syndicate as they continue their march now into the top lane. And we were kind of talking about target selection and Pure Salt being that main target. You know, Pure Salt at least can be killed. If he gets hit by the quickness, maybe hit by a bomb from Moyo, he's pretty squishy. The Toxic Veins Vladimir, you know, how do you actually kill this champion? JT can't focus fire on him. He's going to get one shot by the Hemo Plague, the pool as well, to buy some time. There's just no real sustained damage that's going to take out this Vladimir. And at this point, he's never going to get burst down, right? He has the 3 Mountain Dragons, some health coming through from the items, the armor from the Zonia's Hourglass. So Toxic Vein in some ways even more scary than Pure Salt is at this point. He's just a pretty much unkillable threat on the backline at this point. And I think TDMA can kind of just has to sit back, try to clear waves, and just hope they can get a Baron or get an Elder Dragon at some point in this game.
Absolutely, and especially they gotta, I don't know, maybe just talk to Squib or something, because Squib is getting consistently picked. I think that's like 3 times in a row now, right at the start of these fights, just getting picked off. And if you're TDMA, that's what you want to be doing to the Syndicate, right? Picking somebody off the start of the fights, not getting picked. So I think it's part of it's just the vision game. I mean, Squib was walking into a just face checking a bush, can't be doing that. Even if, and I feel for him. Even if you're the tankiest member of your team, it's not something you could be doing. I think you leave that up to the Rakan. Maybe has a little bit more of escapes. But yeah,
he just wanted the Raptors.
Yeah, just wanted the Raptors, just wanted to drop a word somewhere. But you got to be setting up situations where you can pick the enemy, and that starts with vision, right? You got to know where the enemy is. You got to know where you're safe to be, where you're safe to farm, stuff like that. So, yeah, they just got to set that up, and hopefully they can pick off a member of the Syndicate. That said, Carl, the Syndicate are doing an excellent job of staying on top of each other, not overextending, especially the members of their team that are vital right now. I mean, OTGG and Xavian probably not super important, but I don't think TDMA has like a prayer of catching out Pure Salt, Ender Fire, or Toxic Vein.
No, it does not seem terribly likely. Pure Salt probably the easiest target, but I said he dies very quickly, but he also has the Cosmic Radiance on his back from OTGG if he finds himself in any sort of trouble. Has both summoners available, Arcane Shift. He's extremely fed, more than 20% life steal at this point. He's just not easily taken out, and so I think if you are TDMA, you need to start looking for fights where you have more members. I don't think a 5v5 is ever going to be going in their favor at this point. We can see the poke rolling through. This was supposed to be TDMA with the poke, but instead, it's Syndicate turning it on its head.
Oh,
your JT taking a huge burst from Ender Fire
from the Black Lagoon. My goodness,
that's gonna send him back to base on that one. So yeah, definitely not looking good for TDMA at this point. You need to find some kind of odd number fight. Maybe try to kill the split pusher. Maybe try to pick off a 5v4. See if you can get a pick, turn it into a 5v3, and then leverage a fight win from there. If they are going to come up with a team fight win at this point, but I think 5v5 is kind of one for the history books at this point.
Yeah, and I have to agree. I just got to point out, once again, that True Shot Barrage just about a minute ago or something like that, hitting like 3 members of TDMA. You can't bunch up like that. You'll just get absolutely destroyed by just so many abilities that the Syndicate is throwing at you at this point. Even though the True Shot Barrage isn't doing too much damage to champions like Squib and Bisque, you can't just accept free poke like that, especially when it's so telegraphed as True Shot Barrage is. But yeah, just kind of another thing I got to point out because it's crazy. It keeps happening, Carl.
That is true. Other things keep happening. Top laner's getting picked off. We saw Squib getting picked off, and now he's doing the picking. Toxic Vein found himself a little bit caught out, taken out in the 1v1 by Squib. So, you might be thinking to yourself, hey, he's got 7 deaths. This guy's useless. Well, he also had 6 kills at the time. So, picking up the kill on a Toxic Vein, a little bit more damage than the Vladimir expected. Healing reduction coming through from the Mordekaiser as well. So, a little bit of over-eagerness by Toxic Vein. You have to think trying to kill that inhibitor had taken a little bit too much poke in the Death Realm. Kept him in place, Zanya and Pool not enough to keep himself alive. So that will delay them by a little bit, the Syndicate, but shouldn't be anything too major. He does have teleport available. He's available for the Dragon. The Baron is still alive, so not a major setback, but just something interesting.
Oh, and Bisque gets that sleep coming through Render Fire. Actually eats a Battle Star there, I think, and takes a lot of damage from one of the tankier members of TDMA, so not too bad. But yeah, Squid has kind of some interesting discipline. I mean, we've been seeing some discipline issues kind of with the positioning, face checking bushes, stuff like that. But where he's very disciplined, I think it's just the itemization, like you were mentioning. I think the Morellonomicon and Adaptive Helm are both, oh, here we go. This might be it.
A fight. Gonna have to cut that off. All the big ultimates coming through. The quickness, the Cosmic Radiance as well. Bisque spinning in the backline. The Cyclone coming through for himself. Can he get enough damage down to keep his team alive? Doesn't look very likely. The double kill coming through from Toxic Vein. Hemoplague doing so much damage. Enderfire tries to put the Sleepy Trouble Bubble across, but they do escape. TDMA escaping with 2 members, but 3 are now dead for more than 45 seconds.
Soul.
There is the soul, the 4 Mountain Dragon soul, the dream coming through for the Syndicate. They're saying we don't even need those first 2 dragons. We're just taking 4 mountains, baby. And they move toward the Baron off a good team fight. Win for themselves. Like we said, 5 versus 5 is not really feasible at this point in time for TDMA. They did get a couple members low, but look at the end of it. Toxic Vein almost full HP. Pure Salt full HP again. Not actually able to take anybody else out. The Cosmic Radiance is just too strong at this point in the game for them to find a whole lot of success against the Syndicate. Any damage is just immediately nullified by that or healed back up by their members as the Baron going to go over pretty much uncontested. Saw a little bit of a bomb coming through, but slightly too early, you might say, for Moyo, as it was at about half HP. Doesn't do quite that much damage, and the Baron goes over to the Syndicate.
Yeah, Mega Inferno Bomb. It's almost kind of crazy how much damage that did to the Syndicate, and to the Baron as well. It's super weird that Moyo's been kind of having the game he's been having. I mean, he just has so much gold, right? I mean, he's got um, even a gold lead over Enderfire at this point, despite being so behind. So it's definitely super weird. The Syndicate's doing a really good job being able to take out Moyo. Maybe not killing him early in the fights, but really just kind of removing him from the action, making sure he can't do any more damage. I think that's a big reason why they're winning a lot of these fights. I mean, there's a lot of damage on TDMA, right? But most of the magic damage, in particular, is coming from Moyo. There's other sources of magic damage for sure, but just that kind of the burst, the big pure magic damage, mostly just Moyo. So while they're zoning him out, taking so much damage away from TDMA, I think it's how they're winning the fights.
Inhibitor has gone down in the mid lane. They will rotate up top where Toxic Vein had killed that tower earlier. So just the Inhibitor left standing for TDMA. That's going to be taken out. Double Inhib now down for Team Dark Matter Academy. They have one Inhibitor turret left, and you have to think that's where we would see them make a stand, unless they do want to try to just give that up and somehow come up with the Elder Dragon. But I think you cannot really realistically give up 3 Inhibitors. I think at some point you do have to go for a fight, maybe look for a pick. Something we have been hoping they will do for a lot of this game. So we'll see what they choose to do, but you have to think that decision is yet before them. It should be coming up very shortly. Pure Salt pushing up the minion wave here, so that will be crashing on the Inhibitor turret in just a couple of seconds as they look to break the base again. They don't even want to wait for the Elder Dragon. They don't want to wait for anything else. They're saying, hey, we're just going to kill your turret right now. That tower has gone down to about 5%, taken out of this one. The Mega Inferno Bomb not doing a whole lot of damage. Like we said,
yeah.
He is fed, but there's just too much healing, too much resistance is coming through at this point. We have that soul as well. The Sleeping Trouble Bubble goes down. Enderfire going to dodge away from the Chain of Corruption. There's the engage. Quickness coming through from Jay of the Deeps for the Cosmic Radiance in exchange. OTGG not even going to be taken out before that goes down. Pure Salt and Enderfire staying very safe in the backline. Pure Salt legendary now, picking up the 1-kill Bisque in the backline, trying to do his best, but it's just not going to be enough. He's taken out as well. Toxic Vein, meanwhile, keeping the backline of TDMA busy as Jay of the Deeps and Moyo are running to find a bit of solace on the fountain, but he is going to be falling. It's just the mid laner left. Moyo, what can he do? He gets pushed to sleep. He can die on the fountain is what he can do. It's a 5-for-2 fight, and the Syndicate win game 1 of this best-of-3 in the quarterfinals.
And what a performance from the Syndicate. I'd said it a couple times this game, Carl. I wasn't expecting them to pull a win out of this one after not even the start they had. I mean, they had a solid start, right? But just that huge play coming from TDMA when they stole away the Rift Herald and got that 2K gold lead through the mid lane first turret. I really thought after that one it was just TDMA's game. But it really was their game to lose, and I feel like they lost it. The Syndicate played just so well this game. But yeah, I hope if you're watching this, you're starting to get an idea of how just exciting this series is looking to be. I would be really happy we went to game 3 here, and I'm looking forward to game 2.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the adjective I would use to describe the Syndicate in that game, I think they were very disciplined. I think they, realized, hey, we're a little bit behind in this early part of the game. We gave up these couple of dragons, but a lot of teams at that point, you'd have a bit of a mental boom, mental start going a little bit. You start playing a little bit less cleanly, but the Syndicate was able to stay focused, stay in the game, and realize what their team comp wanted to do. They wanted to team fight. They had, that protection from the Tarek ultimate, the ultimate from Toxic Vein. There was nobody really able to take him out. Sure, Bisque could get in the backline, but he wasn't really going to be killing Enderfire and Pure Salt. He can do half their health, and there's just nobody left to do another half. Moyo wasn't really able to pump up the damage. It just disrupted a little bit too much by Toxic Vein and Savin in the backline. And so I think Syndicate stayed very true to what their team comp wanted to do, and also very true to their style, taking fights over and over again, pushing the pace at TDMA and forcing mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So definitely what we like to see here from the Syndicate. Very classic Syndicate gameplay. We'll see what TDMA can do to come back from this in their little break between games here. They are the #1 seed for a reason, so we definitely expect to see them fight back. We will be back in just a couple of minutes with the second game of this series. We'll see you then. Don't go away. Welcome back, everybody, to Game 2 of this quarterfinal match between the Syndicate and TDMA here in the Style Esports Season 2 playoffs. The Syndicate did end up taking that first game. Pretty exciting game, as we saw TDMA get out to a early lead, and then Syndicate come roaring back, a pentakill to cap it all off for the Syndicate's 80 carry Pure Salt. Syndicate now on the red side as TDMA moves over to the blue. I am, of course, Jarl Carl, joined by Axeman87. Let's getting into this second game. How you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. That was a hell of a game one, Carl. Like you said, I'm Axeman87, and yeah, it was just so back and forth between the Syndicate and Team Dark Matter Academy. The Syndicate seemed to kind of start it off a little bit there in the very early game. They had like a whole 1,000 gold lead there at like only just 6 minutes, something like that. And the big Rift Herald steal from Bisque, immediately converting that into the mid lane. First turret with the satchel bomb from Moyo, and TDMA was able to wrench it all the way back 3k gold the other direction and give themselves a 2k gold lead, which was crazy. It seemed like TDMA, at least to me, had won the game off a one play alone, and out of nowhere, the Syndicate just came back, man. I mean, they had a couple of good team fights despite the gold deficit. I think a lot of that was down to the just kind of AoE damage coming through from Toxic Vein on Vladimir. And then a couple fights later around Dragon, Syndicate picked up their first Dragon, and Pure Salt got a pentakill, and it was insane.
Yeah, that was kind of the end of the story. Got the pentakill, the Dragon went over, and that was kind of the end of that. Syndicate picking up game one in style.
Yeah, they got every dragon after that, got 4 mountain dragons, and yeah, like you said, the game was pretty much over. But yeah, I am really looking forward to game 2 here. I can't wait to see what we got going on. Already kind of starting the same as last game, but with TDMA putting a little bit more respect towards Toxic Vein with that Vladimir ban. I think that's probably a good idea. I mean, Toxic Vein is just a monster Vladimir player. Apart from that, a lot of the same bans coming through. We had that Zaya ban from last game, Jin, Sejuani, Kale, and Aphelios as well, all the same from last game, so nothing too much changing here.
A lot of the picks pretty much the same too. The Syndicate at this point so far, running it back. They won't be able to completely run it back as the Ezreal's stolen away for JT. They're saying, hey, that looks pretty good. We'll take that for ourselves here, expending the first pick on it, but the Taric and Trundle already locked in for the Syndicate. They liked the team fighting that gave them as the Olaf. One of my favorite competitive picks locked in here. I think it's very, very strong and will help them with that team fighting and early game control, which they actually did okay with last game, the early game at least, but a little bit more team fighting help for them should be nice to kind of try to counter this Taric and Trundle.
Yeah, both you and I kind of agreed between games that Bisque wasn't necessarily the problem with TDMA. Ooh, Janna's an interesting pick there. That Ezreal Janna lane could be pretty good, but I don't think the Wukong pick last game was necessarily like helping the way it needed to. So I really like this Olaf pick. Something else you and I agree on is Olaf is very strong and competitive and is not pick banned the way it should be. So yeah, that's a very, very strong pick. And with Ezreal Janna, I'm already liking the bottom side of the map here coming through from TDMA. It seems, very safe, but also very aggressive, right? I mean, Janna's one of those champions that you can go either way, either disengage or engage. It's something I really like about the champion. Ezreal kind of follows that same vein, right? You can go in aggressive with Arcane Shift, also disengage as well. So a lot of options there for TDMA, and Yasuo coming through for the Syndicate. I gotta say, Carl, I'm not sure where this Yasuo is going. In my mind, I don't really think any member of the Syndicate stands out to me as kind of a Yasuo player, so it'll be interesting to see where that pick is going.
Might have been something they've been practicing in scrims as well. Could be that Yasuo Taric bot lane. Very annoying. I kind of have some kind of mental block playing against Yasuo in the bot lane. Myself, as I do play to carry. I lose every time. Every time I play against Yasuo, I just lose. So maybe that's the same for JT. Could be an interesting flex if they do play it down in the bot lane after all these 80 carry bans have come through. Targeting Pure Salt, one of the big carries, of course, for the Syndicate. That Zoe ban right away from Enderfire as well. I wasn't a big fan of it last game. I don't think it was, harmful in any way. I just don't think it had quite the potential that maybe it could have had. So I don't think that will be such a big loss for the Syndicate to lose out on here. As the Orianna locked in, might lend some credence to the Yasuo going bot, although of course could still be top, so we'll have to wait for that last pick. Flex picks, of course, very important and useful in the champion select.
Yeah, just like you were saying, flex picks, right? I'm not. I have to agree with you. I'm not really sure TDMA has done too well trading the Zoe for the Orianna. I think they might be worse off with this Orianna pick, right? I mean, Zoe's annoying, but Orianna can be truly oppressive. It's just so much range, so much sustained kind of damage coming through. Now they're hovering Vel'Koz. That could be very solid pick into Orianna. So maybe they'll be able to come through with that one, and Urgot as well. So an interesting team here from TDMA, but I'm still looking forward to see. I'm not sure that the Syndicate have picked an ADC yet. I don't think Yasuo is going down the bot lane. I might be wrong about that, but I'm not really sure Pure Salt plays too much Yasuo, so I think they need to pick a marksman still here, but we will see.
Definitely want mobility here. If you are going to pick a marksman style champ for the bot lane, got to get away from the Olaf at some point. So see what they go for. The hovering, can mean nothing, but it might mean something. I might see an NA Jace here. Couple of seconds, change to the gangplank. So it will be the Yasuo we would have to expect in the bot lane, not imagining that Pure Salt suddenly become a gangplank master overnight. Looks like that is how it will be. Of course, 30 seconds until that is locked at that 20-second mark. But Yasuo Taric, a very strong lane, able to get stuns pretty easily for the Yasuo. On the other hand, no range, which is maybe going to be especially important in this lane against the Janna Ezreal. A lot of disengage, but if they are able to engage, this Ezreal and Janna are going to go down very quickly. These are very squishy champions. Not a lot of defensive statistics. The same for the Vel'Koz. That's a very glass cannon mid laner. So not a lot of tankiness, once again, on the side of TDMA. A little bit more on the side of the Syndicate. Taric's pretty tanky. Trundle can be tanky just because he borrows whatever stats he wants. Yasuo a few shields as well. So not a super big tank fest like Riot Games might want us to have, but
yeah,
we're shining the trend here, going for the team fights. You said interesting to describe TDMA's team comp. I was going to go more with random. I think it looks, kind of just hodgepodge put together. Hey, what's good? It reminds me of very much of a solo queue team comp. In my mind, you have the Vel'Koz mid. Like, that's not really a competitive pick. Janna not seen too often. The Urgot, I just got crushed by one earlier in my solo queue game, but don't think that's a great read on the competitive meta. So, some interesting picks. I like the Olaf, I like the Ezreal. Other than that, I think a little bit questionable, but we'll see if any of this has been, maybe practiced in the scrims and is ready to go.
Yeah, and there's a lot of good things going on in the team comp. I agree with your assessment of random. I think different bits and pieces are definitely seeming very solo queue. There's a couple of good synergies here, though. Vel'Koz and Olaf are both very strong in the early game. Kind of more skill shot burst base champions. So there could be some gnarly ganks coming through on this Orianna in the early game. Enderfire's got to be very careful of that. Kind of the same story up in the top lane. Olaf has a lot of kind of self setup with the undertow, kind of making up for Urgot's kind of not bringing too much setup to the table. So that's definitely going to help him up there. And down the bot lane, I already mentioned Ezreal and Janna bring so much of just kind of that both aggressive and kind of disengaged there as well. So they can play this game, this lane, kind of either way they want to, right? So there's something going on here, right? There's some signs of life in this team comp. They could make some things happen. So, but yeah, on the flip side, man, there's so much. I mean, the only thing really I don't like about the Syndicate's team comp is that I don't think Taric has a displacement. I might be wrong about that.
He does not. Nope.
So I don't think Yasuo is going to benefit from that one. I'm pretty sure he can ult off of Orianna Shockwave.
Yep, he can. And Shockwave and Pillar.
And with Trundle as well is going to give him another. Of course, he can also use his own Tornado, so it's not like a requirement or anything for the support to have a displacement, but it does help. So we just saw OTGG have a monster Taric game, so I still like this bot lane. And overall, I got to give the comp advantage probably the Syndicate once again. So yeah, it's going to be a rough one here. That said, TDMA is first seed, right? I mean, they're on the top of the league right now. So we mentioned at the start of the series that the Syndicate would be giant killing tonight. After game one, not sure that's still holding true. I think the Syndicate might have just, ran it down a lot during the season or something, because they seem like they're a lot better in TDMA. But
it's playoff Syndicate.
Yeah, playoff Syndicate, exactly. They've turned on the Jets. But, it was just one game, right? So maybe here in game two, We see TDMA make a full about face, a full 180. Maybe they just come back in force. And it wasn't like the Syndicate just totally demolished them, right? I mean, they look really strong in a lot of that game, but TDMA gave them a run for their money, right? So you know, it's going to be close, and I'm looking forward to it here. Looks like we just got through the spectator delay, so we'll be loading onto Summoner's Rift here in just a bit. Let's take a look at these Keystones and Summoner spells, Carl.
See if there's anything. I'm on a bit of a black screen at this point, but something we haven't mentioned. Well, we're getting this black screen. There we go. We're fixed with that. But something we haven't mentioned so far is the Yasuo Orianna combo. Can be very strong. Put the ball on Yasuo, multiple knock up Orianna ult on top of that. Taric ult, added into the fray for even more safety on the Yasuo could be very strong. So that Wombo combo is available. Gangplank ult coming down as well. So a lot of AoE damage could be coming through here for the side of the Syndicate. I would have to agree with you. I do like their team better. I think it has probably a stronger team fight and just more ways that it can work out. I think the bot lane is winning, every day of the week. Ezreal Janna is not going to win this lane, you wouldn't think. And, at least 2v2 against Yasuo Taric, that seems extremely unlikely to me. The mid lane, like the Vel'Koz, is a lot of damage, but is that glass cannon we mentioned can get displaced by Trundle also while he's ulting, which is an interesting thing to think about as well. So I think a lot of advantages here to the Syndicate, but of course, like you said, TDMA, that first seed, not willing to just give in super easily. But Keystone-wise, pretty much the same as we might expect here. Double Conqueror for TDMA on the top side, Gangplank going for that grasp to stack up that health. Nothing super unusual jumping out at me, but double teleport now for both teams. So no teleport advantage, but we might see a lot of those TPs coming through.
Yeah, for sure. And that's an interesting point you make about Vel'Koz ult. There's some pretty unreliable CC on the side of the Syndicate that suddenly becomes very, very reliable if the target is self-rooting and in a big AP ultimate, right? I mean, things like Yasuo Tornado that might have a chance of getting sidestepped or maybe not hitting the targets you want suddenly become super reliable if Vel'Koz is just standing still. Things like Trundle, I'm not sure what that ability is called, rock or something, but you know what I'm talking about, the pillar.
The pillar.
Yeah, that suddenly just point and click, and Vel'Koz isn't ulting anymore. So just a couple things to look forward to. But yeah, just something we haven't mentioned yet. Moyo kind of on another one of those skill shot AP carry champions, likes his mages.
Yeah, they definitely have their place and can do a lot of damage. I think we've all had that Vel'Koz in solo queue that, hits you with one bit of his W and then presses R and you're just like, oh, yep. I died. That's fun.
Yeah,
and you're still not quite sure how his passive works. He does true damage, maybe, I think, I don't know, a lot of stacks, but he didn't have any stacks, but I died anyway. Who knows? So hopefully Team Syndicate has done their research here. They are aware of what that passive does, unlike yours truly in solo queue. So we'll see how that works out. A little bit of a bush stack here for the Syndicate as pretty standard. Level 1, we'll see how much early vision is gone for here. The Olaf and the Trundle both early game junglers that, could be going for these ganks, pillar behind, and the undertows coming through. So do want to track those, make sure you're not getting caught out.
Yeah, and it's kind of an interesting matchup. I think personally, I would probably give the jungle matchup to Bisq on Olaf. But,
yeah, for sure.
Trundle and those champions that can kind of pull 1v1s out of a hat if they're misplayed. There's a lot of damage that comes out of Olaf just in the undertows, which is a dodgeable ability, right? So while it's easy to say, hey, Olaf just wins 1v1s, if he misses enough undertows, no, he doesn't. So, with Trundle being that kind of 1v1 pedigree, there could be some close fights here. Now, there could also be some very not close fights. He nails all his axes, but, there's always the potential that Xavier just gets that outplay. There's a lot of variables, of course, especially if you're talking about things like counter ganks, stuff like that, that could give the Trundle an advantage. So I never want to say this matchup is necessarily called, but I think I'm like you. I'd probably lean a little bit further towards the Olaf on this one.
Yeah, it's pretty reliable. The undertow can be dodged, of course, but actually doing so is pretty hard. And even if he does miss, he just kind of like picks it up again and keeps chucking it at you. So you have to go for multiple dodges at once, and it can be pretty difficult. And a lot of his damage, he just kind of clicks on you, and he heals. And you get him lower, he gets you lower faster because he attacks faster. Of course, when he is lower HP, something to watch out for. Also, that Olaf passive and keeping himself healthy with that W lifesteal. So Olaf,
Yeah.
reasonably simple champion. We see him going for a little bit of an invade here.
It's like he can hear us or something.
Yeah, right. He's onto us. Caster Curse, like you always have. Caster Curse, Caster Prophet, Caster everything here. As the invade has been kind of spotted out. Bisq seen to be walking away, but can't bring those raptors back to life.
No, you cannot, and I know I'd be salty if I was Zavian, so running after him for a little bit there, but you want to take that Raptor? Yeah, get that Raptor camp on cooldown before you walk away, and he's going to go discover that his red is missing too. Yikes. You hate to see it, and he goes up to Krugs, trying to get the last bit of those jungle camps up before he finally goes back to base there, but yeah, Bisq already getting that CS advantage that at this point we kind of just expect from Olaf. It just clears camp so fast, right?
Yeah, and even if he gets lower, it doesn't. The point of Olaf is to get low. Some Olaf players, one of the people on the university team that I played for, was like to challenge himself to get as low as possible in the jungle. So see how low he could get a faster clear, and he was like speed running the jungle clear. I was like, maybe you should just focus on winning the game rather than your speed runs. But hey, we all like speed running. I'm a big fan of it myself, so got to do that from time to time. But we see Zavian trying to get that Scuttle Crab, looking for any kind of vision score or farm he can get for himself here after probably still smarting over losing those raptors and his red buff.
For sure.
A little bit behind in farm, but he's doing okay for himself.
And it's really bad, right? I mean, not to harp on this, but just for junglers in Season 10, it's kind of been a tagline for junglers. Man, when I get behind, I never get back in the game. It's kind of amplified into Olaf, right? I mean, once you get behind, Olaf just clears camps so fast, has such effective ganks once he gets ahead that it really is rough trying to get back into the game. We see Zavian trying to get a little bit of vertical jungling going on here, but it's really just going to add fuel to the fire, I would imagine, for Bisq. He might actually get caught out here as Bisq moving forward.
Yeah, you got to clear out.
Yes, you see Zavian with that vision there. Very well done to place that down, but yeah, I think we harped on jungle enough here. And the rest of the map, mid lane Enderfire seems to have a little bit of advantage for themselves there. An 8 CS lead, nothing to sneeze at, right? Especially when I think, at least I expected Moyo to be doing a little bit better here at this stage in the game, at least from a poke perspective. So I definitely was maybe not expecting Enderfire to be even ahead at all, let alone this far ahead.
Bisq clearing out the vision as well. This could be a very early dragon start. That was one of speedrunning Olaf's favorite strategies to do, was to take that early dragon. I believe that has been started up now by Bisq. No real way to contest that. Zavian and Pure Salt very low, of course. But again, you mentioned that mid lane. Enderfire has been landing the poke down on Ori on it like you would like to see on Moyo. And I don't think Moyo is doing that badly for himself. He's just kind of, a lot of the poke from Orianna is not super dodgeable. She just kind of throws the ball at you repeatedly, whereas it is a skill shot based champion here on Moyo's side. So he's got a few farm, but nothing too major at this stage of the game. As that bot lane, kind of before the items, we see Pure Salt in a little bit of trouble. He just isn't really, no real threat of him engaging before he has that ultimate, before he has that crit itemization. So he's just kind of chilling for a little while, trying to get some farm, as it might be in danger of a bit of a dive, but it looks like Bisq just kind of walks out.
And Carl, I gotta say, I played Olaf before. I soloed the first dragon. It always feels like you're getting away with murder, right? You kind of have to have that killer instinct. This could be bad for the Syndicate. Pure Salt's still low, like you mentioned earlier.
He has flash, but you have to think he's going to be finding himself in all sorts of trouble there. He's going to get knocked out. Life Form Disintegration Ray flashing away from the stun. Not going to land on a Moyo. Pure Salt is going to just kind of walk out to safety, as the bot lane does get away. The stun missed, but not quite enough. Both the flash and the exhaust used by the bot lane.
And that FPX Gangplank ultimate coming through. I hadn't seen that yet. It's a pretty cool animation. But yeah, JT, unfortunately, with no mana, couldn't really help out there on that little gank onto Pure Salt. Jay of the Deeps did have some mana, but couldn't get close enough, unfortunately, for that damage. They do get, like you mentioned, Pure Salt's flash there, but as I was saying earlier, Bisq, I've soloed the first dragon on Olaf before. I don't think I've ever soloed the dragon, then immediately run to the enemy jungle to clear half of the jungle. That's pretty wild. This is a very confident Olaf, and rightly so, just so far ahead at this point. Very, very massive, but Toxic Vein up in the top lane, answering back a little bit, got a little bit of a lead over onto Squib, kind of echoing what we saw in game 1. Toxic Vein showing their mastery of Gangplank thus far in this game. Got that Sheen. I believe you go Sheen and a Triforce, so I'm not mistaken, but I am not a Gangplank main,
Oh,
so
Bisk.
please.
Seeing a little bit of, there's the pillar. Pillar's what you want to stop him, but it looks like everyone's going to walk out from this. And Enderfire maybe wanting a bit more, but Ragnarok was expended by Bisk. Having to use that doesn't really, help to get around that pillar, but he's able to keep himself from being slow, just walks out of that situation. And we saw also, as a result of that bot lane roam, Moyo has fallen a little bit farther behind in CS against Enderfire, his lane counterpart here. A couple hundred gold lead, but nothing too major. Once again, Pure Salt in the bot has completed that BF sword. A little bit more all-in threat, but still not quite as scary as he will be in just a couple of items.
Yeah, for sure. I still like the roam from Moyo. I mean, he's got the Dark Steel. I think if you ever want to turn that into a Soul Stealer, you probably want to start getting the kills. And the way this mid lane is looking, I'm not really sure Enderfire is going to be the target he's looking for to stack that up. I mean, he's going to need to start getting those ganks from Bisk. But thus far, Bisk just seems to be interested in kind of just hard farming and taking epic monsters, which is, apart from other junglers, just fine on Olaf. I mean, you're doing enough for your team just doing that, right? So, yeah, I think it would be nice if Bisk could get some ganks in on this mid lane, but doesn't necessarily have to. That said, Moyo in a bit of a rough spot here in the mid lane.
Yeah, he's taking a lot of pokes, so now he might be in danger of actually getting shockwaved here. He's going to be going down. There's a flash, but it's not enough. Wasting the flash on that as well.
Man.
Just greeting a little bit too much for those minions. Didn't want to fall farther behind. And Moyo taken out for first blood, going in favor of Enderfire and expending the flash. Pretty big loss for TDMA. And, we mentioned that Orianna can turn into such a monster if she gets fed. Definitely not the first step that TDMA was looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of getting microed out of there just with the CS and finally, Enderfire pulling the trigger with the Shockwave and taking down the Vel'Koz. Unfortunate one, but Syndicate are looking for the first epic monster of the game. With Bisk on the opposite side of the map, I think they might have this one in the bag, Carl. They're taking that Rift Herald. That's going to be pretty big for them if they're looking to kind of...
Bot lane might get dove, though.
Oh, here we go.
They're relatively close to 6. Pure Salt is 6. OTGG, if he can get there in time, might be able to keep himself alive, but he is taken out almost immediately. Pure Salt trying to do his best. Toxic Vein able to pick up a counter kill onto Jay of the Deeps with that ultimate from Gangplank coming through. JT had to expend both summoners to get himself out, and Enderfire has roamed up to the top lane. Squib finding himself very low, expends the flash, but I do not think he's going to be living for very long. There is no Blast going to get himself to safety. There is the Subjugate coming through, and he is subjected to 27 seconds in the death chamber, taken out, expends the flash as well. So members going down and using that summoner, but the dive in the bot lane was reasonably successful. Had to trade one kill back, but they were able to take out the bot lane of the Syndicate.
Yeah, and TDMA, they almost did so well to be able to juggle that turret aggro, but like you were saying, the Gangplank ultimate coming through just slowed Jay of the Deeps down just enough to be able to get that last turret shot off. They weren't really expecting the slow to come through, so but they almost juggled it well, right? They had the aggro on the support initially, then unfortunately had to kind of roll off onto JT, who took a couple turret shots there, but was able to make it out alive. So yeah, they lose their Janna. JT has to expend their flash, but yeah, I would agree with you. I would say a successful dive, well executed there, but and yeah, TDMA, they're sitting here on 2 dragons now. They did just take that Cloud Drake there, so they're gonna have a whole lot of epic monsters here. Syndicate just have that Rift Herald that they took, right? And they dropped up in the top lane. We're able to take that first turret, so in my mind, pretty close. I think both teams came out with a lot through that last play. I think Syndicate obviously sitting at 1K gold lead, maybe came out with a little bit more. Being able to take down that top turret, but this game by no means over, Carl.
Yeah, absolutely not. And the CS kind of traded between the mid and the bot laners here. 20 CS in the lead for the mid and bot of the Syndicate and TDMA respectively. So kind of traded back in the priority of these lanes. Yasuo just not really able to threaten a whole lot yet, as Moyo still feeling the pain. And there's a troll behind him. This could get very ugly for him very quickly. The Lifeform Disintegration Array not really going to be able to be channeled. Moyo does not have that flash we mentioned earlier. Moyo going to be taken out. Enderfire 16 picking up the kill. 2-0 and 1 down on the Orianna. 102 CS, doing very well for himself. He has a ton of gold and is turning quickly into a control mage monster that you do not like to see.
Yeah, and I tell you, it's almost like doubly bad for TDMA because this was the point of the game where Vel'Koz was supposed to be exceeding, right? I think it's supposed to be doing most of the damage that they were going to do during the course of the game. Actually, this bot lane fight might turn out to be something. Actually,
the fight might be the mid lane that we care about more. Enderfire having to flash away, but he gets hit by the Undertow. The flash forward from Bisk. The commitment taking the kill on Enderfire. He's shut down, and this is turning into quite a scary Olaf here.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say it's almost doubly worse for TDMA because Enderfire is gonna scale better into these mid-game fights and late-game fights really than the Vel'Koz is. But I mean, Bisk is still strong, right? I mean, we're still here in the early game. We're sub 15 minutes. This Olaf isn't falling off anytime soon. So I really think TDMA could still potentially make a lot happen. They do have both dragons, right? They can turn that into Dragon Soul somewhere around 25 minutes. I think they have a good chance of playing around that win condition. But yeah, these mid-game team fights are going to be really rough with this Orianna. I mean, Enderfire is going to be doing so much damage with just Shockwave alone, you know? I mean, just the one spell, but all the other Orianna damage as well are going to be coming through in those fights. So it's going to be really rough. And yeah, Bisk being able to kind of hunt down Enderfire like we just saw, if they can manage to do that in team fights, TDMA might have something here.
Absolutely, and we're talking about the power of Enderfire in these mid-game team fights. So we just kind of haven't mentioned Toxic Vayne at all. Farming up really well for himself in the top lane, has the Trinity Force completed. Luden's Echo has come through as well for Enderfire. So the first major items of the game have been completed by the side of the Syndicate. And we were talking about the Dragon Soul. You know, we're in position for a 21-minute Dragon Soul if these dragons continue to be taken out at the rate that they have. By TDMA, and so this is something that the Syndicate is going to have to stop, and they're kind of looking to regain bot lane control. They have 4 members here in the bot. They might look for a dive. They decide to call it off a little bit for now as they do not know where Moyo is. He is working his way to the bot lane. This could be a nasty counter gank if they do try to go for this dive. They have the Gangplank ultimate available as well. Cannon Barrage is up, but they see Moyo now. We'll see if they continue to try to go for this fight. Knock up onto Enderfire is going to be forced back, but it looks like the Syndicate is going to be able to continue hitting onto this turret. They won't be able to take it out, but they get it down to half HP and back away. So probably not what they're looking for, but we might actually see a bit more from this one. Squib is channeling the teleport. He is now in this one. The ultimate going to get blocked out by Pure Assault. The Cosmic Radiance going to come down as well. The teleport from Toxic Vayne has arrived. This is a 5 versus 5. The Cannon Barrage comes down as well. Cosmic Radiance is now off a huge shockwave in the backline and triple ultimate from Pure Assault. Can he pick up any kills? Monsoon is healing them, but he is going to be able to go down. Jay of the Deeps has been taken out. Xavian also blown up by JT in the background as the fight continues. It's 3 versus 3. Toxic Vayne picking up the kill onto Squib as Pure Assault has dove into the backline to pick up JT as well. Now it's Bisk in a 1 versus 2 OTGG and Toxic Vayne. Can he pick up the kill onto Bisk? Toxic Vayne does not likely have the damage. Bisk just doing so much in this fight. The Olaf is too strong to burn down onto Toxic Vayne, and in the end of it all, it's a 5 for 4 in favor of TDMA and the Olaf.
Yeah, and we said the Olaf might come through these fights. I wasn't expecting him to come through that big. Wow, that is a huge Olaf here. Take a look at the KDA. 502, absolutely massive here on Summoner's Rift. He's going to be able to take the bot turret, and you have to imagine he'll be moving towards the dragon next. That dragon is coming up in less than a second, Carl. It's up already. And I have to imagine TDMA will be moving for that one now. All 10 summoners are back on a Summoner's Rift, so it might be a close fight. TDMA
they may try to contest this, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bisk hasn't recalled yet, so he's still holding a lot of gold. Apologies for cutting you off on that one. Toxic Vayne not here, though. He is still up in the top lane, and no smite on Olaf. That's being pinged in the chat right now. So both teams kind of doing the Baron dance, or the Dragon dance. This isn't a Baron. It's like a fake Baron dance, doing the Dragon here. But there's no smite on the side of the team that has 5 members, and there's 4 members on the side of the team that has 4 members. So what do we really do? I don't know. We just kind of stand here and throw skill shots at each other. Olaf, 650 bounty. That's being pinged, too, in the chat. That would be nice to go over to the Olaf. JT pushing the mid lane tower. So these teams kind of just looking at each other here. Toxic Vayne going to have the ultimate back up soon, and the Cosmic Radiance still quite a ways away. So these teamfight ultimates not quite yet available. No Monsoon either for disengage. That was huge in that last fight. Jay of the Deep's taken out kind of late in that, able to get a lot of healing through for his team, but it looks like this dragon might be conceded for some damage on the mid lane tower. This is something we saw exactly in reverse in the last game. Actually, not in reverse. Exactly the same as in the last game. TDMA did have those first dragons and then gave up the third for that dragon, for the mid lane push. So eerily similar to what we saw in the last game. We'll see if the result is very similar. We would need to see a pentakill in this fight for that to be the same. The red team has taken the dragon. The Syndicate picked that one up, no problem. But Bisq is up, taking the Herald, so that is traded away, as well as that mid tower going down.
Yes, they got another Herald here. Or excuse me, I think they get their first Herald. I'm not sure they got the last Herald.
The Syndicate got the first one.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
Davian
picked up that first one. But so yeah, they're going to get their first Rift Herald. And, this is going to set their Dragon Soul back a little bit. We talked about that maybe being a win condition for them. But, after that last fight where Bisq was just so strong, I don't think they're on the same kind of... just kind of stopwatch that they were before. I think they have a little bit more time here in this game. Olaf falling out of the game was pushed back even further. I think they can afford to give up a dragon, especially if they manage to pull some more value out of this Rift Herald, right? And I really don't think that would have been a good fight to take for TDMA. Like you had mentioned, Olaf had like 2,000 gold in their pockets. They just finished their Black Cleaver and picked up a whole nother pickaxe with that gold. So I think I definitely agree with the trading Rift Herald back for a dragon there. I think it was a good play.
Mountain Tower might finally go down here. They have been forcing on the Syndicate for so long. It's kind of been sticking out like a sore thumb here for them. They're focusing a lot of attention on it, and it might get them killed here, actually. JND's running forward. Janna so randomly fast, it feels like all the time. OTGG having to get himself out. Looks like the Syndicate will be able to walk themselves to safety. Some pings going down by Bisq, though. He is quite strong. Wouldn't be surprised if he can go for a 1 versus 3. At this point, definitely might try. Not sure he would be able to succeed. 3-level lead on Xavian. That's interesting to note. Might be important for those smite levels later in the game. Xavian does smite that. Get level 10, so only 2 levels difference now. But this Olaf, undeniably strong. I would not want to be face checking a bush with him in it, regardless of who I am.
Yeah, absolutely. And Janna, has that passive just with brown bags running around with like 420 movement speed. So just really, really fast. But that's pretty crazy. But interesting to note, both teams sitting pretty even in gold. And there's a little bit of an advantage for TDMA. Nothing too big, though. Most of that, I would have to imagine, is on Bisq Olaf. But I'm not really sure. We could take a look at the gold briefly. And I would venture to say I was probably correct about that one. The next most gold on their team is about 1,600 gold behind the Olaf. That's JT.
That's a strong Olaf.
On the Ezreal. And on the enemy team, I mean, it's even less close, right? I mean, it's Toxic Vein at another like 1,700, something like that behind. But just massive. I mean, we said it a couple times now, but it really is kind of the focal point of TDMA's team at this point, is just getting this Olaf onto something that he can kill and then extracting value from that. This Baron is up. Bisq and the rest of his team, TDMA, are moving towards the top side of the map. Teleport coming through onto that
Teleport's
top
coming
turret.
through, yeah. Looks like they want to defend this.
Syndicate, but
the Herald is here too, so I think they would want to avoid giving this tower up if they can. Looks like they do want to defend it. Pure Salt's here in the backline. This could be a big fight. The Cosmic Radiance coming through as well. Ragnarok and the Monsoon to try to push him away. Everybody not taking damage so far in this point. OTGG and Pure Salt trying to get themselves out to safety. Janna has fallen. Jay the Deep's going to go down as well. The Wombo combo starting to come through the shockwave on one member, and it's a 4-for-0 wipe in this fight. Syndicate once again pull a fight out of their hat. Who knows where they came up with this one, but a 4-for-0 fight for the Syndicate as they look to turn toward the Baron at 20 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yeah, and just be able to get that pick on the Bisq absolutely turned around that fight for the Syndicate, right? I mean, they're sitting here, they're on Baron now. They got 4 kills out of that fight, and TDMA not able to get anything. And now, as if, from thin air, as if by magic, Carl, the Syndicate have a 2K gold lead. Kind of echoing what happened in game 1, right? Just Syndicate making that comeback out of nowhere. Now they got Baron and a Dragon and a kill lead, gold lead. They're sitting on cloud 9.
Yeah, very good defense of that top lane tower. They, once again, just saying, we're not going to concede this. We know what you want to do. A great flank from Pure Salt and OTGG. Without the Cosmic Radiance, that might just be an int by the Yasuo on this one. But Pure Salt able to focus fire on Jay of the Deeps, able to stop him getting that shielding, getting that displacement out, takes him out almost immediately. He has now completed his Infinity Edge, so that is a very strong Yasuo. And, knowing that they were able to just kind of 2v5 in the backline for a little bit until their team arrived. And, they won that fight without the Shockwave, pretty much. Enderfire, one-man Shockwave on Squib at the end of that fight. So not a huge amount of use, coming out of that one in the general sense that you might think of a Shockwave hitting, multiple members, that huge burst of damage coming through. So We'll see if the Syndicate's able to continue that success. They have picked up this Baron now. We'll see what they do with it. Their siege, not as good as in the last game, perhaps. No Ezreal really to throw out poke. But we'll see what they decide to do with this one. Bisk kind of just forcing here. Pure Salt, Life Form Disintegration Ray coming out onto him. Can he get himself out? He's going to be taken out by the True Shot. Barrage Teleport has been channeled through by Squib as well. Teleport coming in for the Syndicate, but this might not be the fight that they're looking for. A huge Shockwave coming through, but Squib is now in the front line. The two members left of Syndicate, Toxic Van and Enderfire, in full retreat as they have definitely lost out on this fight. 3 members down, and they lose the fourth dragon of the game as well. A 3-1 lead in that area now for TDMA.
Yeah, and something we haven't pointed out yet, Carl. We keep talking about this Dragon Soul and this win conditioner TDMA. That Dragon Soul gonna be an Ocean Soul. That's gonna be absolutely whoa. Janna just disappeared. That was insane, but yeah, that Ocean Soul is gonna be absolutely massive for like every single member of TDMA. But you know, we've been talking about all game. It's not going to be bigger on anyone else on TDMA than it will be on Biss Olaf, just healing him ad nauseum. As the game goes later, I think JT might come a little bit more to the forefront here, but like we've been saying, Olaf not going out of style anytime soon. That Olaf Soul, that Ocean Soul is going to be huge here, and it's coming up in less than 5 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely not the time that you wanted to get caught out if you are Pure Soul. Just blown up by Moyo. You know, he was 0-4 at the time. 0-4 Vel'Koz with one item, you know, knocks you up and hits you with that Life Form Disintegration Ray, and you disintegrate. That is one of the more aptly named abilities in the game. He was taken out immediately. The Wind Wall does not help against light. You cannot block light with wind. Let that be a lesson to all you out there. Do not try to block the sun by blowing on it. It will not work. No wind to block that. So pretty much unfortunate for Pure Soul. One of the strong points of his team, you know, he doesn't have maybe the greatest scoreline. Like, you know, you wouldn't see him as one of the main carries so far in this game, but he's dishing out a lot of damage in these fights, holding people in the air with his ultimate. So a very integral member of the team. And he has that Infinity Edge now. So he has 100% crit, hitting like a truck if he's able to infiltrate the backline. And Jay of the Deeps, you know, you have to think would be gone in just a couple of auto attacks. Ultimate, a few Qs would take that champion out. And a lot of squishy targets, as we mentioned, on the side of TDMA. So this Yasuo, if he's given free reign, if he has that Cosmic Radiance, can definitely rip a hole through TDMA.
Yeah, and speaking of squishy targets, I mean, there's some larger health bars on the side of TDMA, notably Urgot and Bisk, but there's not really a whole lot of tank stats, right? I mean, it's mostly just health coming through, maybe a little bit more resistances on the Urgot, but there really are just 5 squishy targets here on TDMA. So you're right. I mean, there's just so much burst potential. And it really is, you kind of touched on it briefly, that the Yasuo passive is really one of the reasons that he can kind of turn a substandard or you know, a suboptimal score line into suddenly being this massive carry. He's got the double crit, right? And he's got the Infinity Edge. He's also got the Phantom Dancer. Now he's got 100% crit, right? So doing so much more damage than his scoreline would suggest, or even his CS numbers, right? I mean, everything just looks, you know, not as great as JT. In spite of all that, doing tons of damage. So he's definitely going to be a focal point here for the Syndicate. That said, you know, he's really just one of many. I mean, there's a lot of damage sources on the Syndicate, right? Least of which, or not least of which, I would say, be Toxic Bane on Gangplank. We've talked about that a couple times. Got the Triforce Essence Reaver coming through, and also healing reduction from the Executioner's Calling. It's a massive Gangplank. It's really just a question of whether or not Toxic Bane can get that damage onto the enemy team. It's difficult. There's some moving targets there, and also kind of some issues about, you know, target selection, right? Who do you go after here? You mentioned Moyo doing so much damage despite having you know, one of the not so great score lines on his team. So you kind of have to pick your targets wisely with that. But yeah, it kind of is a question of, can we get these less reliable abilities from the Syndicate onto the correct targets? And I really think if they can win most any fight here. You know, they should have a pretty easy time of winning these team fights. There's just a lot of moving parts that they have to nail down first.
100% agree. Positioning in teamfights and target selection in teamfights, two of the most important things in League that don't really show up in your scoreline, you know, directly. They might show up indirectly. If you just run it down, you probably have a few more deaths on the side of that one. But we'll see how that comes through in these teamfights. If they are able to get another flank of the Syndicate, that's been huge. Toxic Bane could find himself in all sorts of trouble. He's going to blow the flash immediately. I think very smart, actually, by him to preserve his health bar, blow that summoner, realizing that the dragon is up in, you know, just half a minute here. That's the sole point. You have to fight if you are Team Syndicate. Gets himself to safety. Says, maybe I won't have that flash, but I'll have my life.
He definitely will. We saw there in the chat what upgrades does Gangplank have in their ultimate. I'm not sure if we're able to check that actually, but actually yes we are. They do have Death's Daughter upgrade. That's the mega cannonball at the center point. So
Syndicate
they do have that
clearing.
upgrade. They are sitting on 500 silver servants
Kind
as
of
well.
a
So
death bush here, actually. The teleport came through from Moyle, but this dragon's up in just a couple of seconds. Almost literally, Xavian just going to be going forward. Cosmic Radiance has come through, though. Shockwave did miss, actually, from Enderfire. No targets connecting on that one. Toxic Vein trying to find his way onto Moyle, but this fight not starting off in a great way for the Syndicate. Xavian going to be taken out, going to be compressed up by Squib. He is now in the backline. Monsoon trying to keep his team alive as well. JT has picked up the kill onto Toxic Vein. This fight going great for TDMA. Bisk just rolling through the backline here. Pure Salt very low. Can he get himself to safety? Enderfire flashing out as well, but it might not even matter as it's a 3-for-0 fight, and TDMA will pick up this Ocean Soul.
Oh yeah, they are gonna pick up that Ocean Soul. This is gonna be absolutely nuts. We talked about this earlier, but I think pretty much everyone is familiar with the league, is familiar with the effect of the Ocean Soul here at this point. It's widely regarded as one of the, if not the most powerful Ocean Souls in this game, and it looks like TDMA are going to be able to pick up the Baron to boot with that teleport coming through from
No
Squid.
smite.
5 members onto the Baron, so they should have a fairly easy time of picking this up as well. So TDMA looking very, very strong here, despite still having a gold deficit. They're still down 100 gold here, Carl.
Yeah, the smite not available for Bisk, but not to be known, of course, by the Syndicate. They're going to just be giving this one up. No contest on this. And the Soul plus the Ocean, they're in prime position now, TDMA, with 1,500 gold lead, of course, coming through from the Baron. Gives 1,500 gold to those who are not aware, 300 to each member. They are in prime position to just siege down some towers. Very hard to stop him at this point. You know, how do you kill Bisk? I don't think you do.
I think you just wait. kind of waiting out at this point. At some point, he'll fall off, theoretically.
Yeah,
but,
an hour from now.
Yeah, maybe sometime around there. But with the Ocean Soul, man, I don't know. I think, first of all, every member on your team's got to have that healing reduction. I think they have 4 members right now that have it, so they're doing pretty good. That's pretty solid for the Syndicate. But, yeah, other than that, pretty much just kind of focusing him down. I almost hesitate to say that because, when there's a big
huge
shockwave
big
here.
fight going to be coming through here. The Cosmic Radiance has come down. Pure Salt going to be able to keep himself alive. OTGG leading the charge here on the support. Supportal combat coming through. Bisk picks up the kill onto him, though. And that Ocean Soul, look at the health bars. It's full health across the board from TDMA. That Shockwave ripping onto 3 members. They're saying, what Shockwave? We don't even remember it at this point. We don't even need minions to siege this tower. We are so tanky. I'm just going to hit this tower, and I'm going to heal hitting the tower. Bisk doing very well for himself. Probably wants to get taken out a little bit lower, actually, to increase that attack speed, but a little bit unfortunate for him. Not going to be able to do that one. And what do you do now if you're the Syndicate? It's 4 versus 5. You have to defend your base. Not a great fight for them. It looked good at the start, but just not able to continue it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the Syndicate just dropped Blue Eyes White Dragon, and TDMA just dropped Exodia right after, right? I mean, we said it was a big shockwave, but even as I was saying, I was thinking, not that big. Could have been bigger for sure.
Not big enough.
Yeah, not quite big enough. And you already said it, TDMA. I mean, they have full health bars. They 4 of them got nailed by shockwave. They all have full health. A lot of that's down to Janna also to be able to heal up some members of their team, but I don't think it gets much worse than just hitting your shockwave on 4 members and it just not mattering at all. That's pretty rough.
Definitely
maybe having your True Shot Barrage wind walled feels pretty bad too, but yeah, that shockwave was pretty rough.
Enderfire going pretty low here. He's just going to be taken out. The shockwave comes through, but JT now on a killing spree. OTGG, you'd have to think, sure to follow here. He's going to be going down. Jay of the Deep's picking up that kill. First kill for himself. He's saying, hey, let me in. I want to kill too. Picking up that on the support. Bisk, meanwhile, just soloing out the tower in the top lane. There is the gang playing ultimates to try to buy a bit of time. But the Monsoon, as a counter to that one, taking out a half HP. Jay of the Deeps, he just needs to hit something, and he will be back to full HP. And I think at this point, if you're the Syndicate, what do you turn to? I think it has to be the Elder Dragon. You have to get that Elder Dragon and then take a fight and just try to end off of that. I think that's probably the only way you're going to win this game.
Oh, for sure. I mean, the classic Elder play is definitely a way back into this game. They haven't lost too much of their base yet to be able to pull that off, but that window is rapidly closing, Carl, as they do lose another inhib. They only got one left. There is that inner turret down there in the bot lane, though, so TDMA are going to have to cut through a little bit more if they want to get that last inhib. That could play into this Elder play, having that last inner turret there in the bot lane, but I think more than likely, if we play the situation out 100 times, I think 90 of those are taken by TDMA. So it's going to be rough for the Syndicate to be able to take this one. I think if I'm on the Syndicate, I just start looking at game 3, right? I mean, you don't want to give up too easily in competitive, but I think you start thinking about ways you could maybe switch up the draft a little bit more. I know we've had a lot of talk in the chat about maybe having a ball carrier, a more reliable ball carrier for the Orianna pick. I think that probably could have helped Syndicate a little bit here. It's difficult to say because I like the Gangplank pick so much. I like what Toxic Band's accomplished with the pick, but I think that top lane could have been a good opportunity for them to maybe get a ball carrier in there, something like Camille, something like that with some hard engage. But it's not like Toxic Vein has been running it down on Gangplank, so
Absolutely not.
difficult to say.
Yeah, I don't think the shockwaves have really been the problem in this game. We've seen actually quite a lot of really good shockwaves from Enderfire. In that soul fight, he did whiff that one. A little bit unfortunate. The Trundle wasn't quite able to get far enough into the fight. But, I don't think the draft necessarily has been a huge problem. Maybe you ban the Olaf out if you're just worried about that early game jungle. Kind of just overcame Xavian, stole some camps, and really never looked back on the side of this Olaf. So I think it's a pretty clear win condition. I don't think you give up quite yet on the side of Syndicate. You do have this Elder Dragon. If you lose the Elder Dragon, then it's pretty much over. But if you do secure this Elder Dragon, maybe win a fight somehow, I think you're very, very clearly back in the game if you're able to secure that buff. And so for that reason, I think you do kind of stick with this game for a little while. Key items have been completed as well. Best Nance coming through on Pure Salt and the Infinity Edge for Toxic Vein. So items have come through. These fights, I would say, are winnable. I would go with about your 10% assessment, which I think is definitely enough to be fighting for, as we have a bit of a disconnection here. OTGG taking a step back and taking a step back, and he's back with us here, so I do take that back. Xavian losing half his health. He's going to lose a little bit more here. True Shot Barrage coming through. That's a lot of poke. They're just going to concede this Elder Dragon. I don't know how I feel about that decision, but they decide to give it up.
Yeah, they're going to give it up, and I guess just trying to clear waves here. What I will say is maybe trying to get this game to go a little bit later might work in their favor, but I'm like you, man. I don't think giving up objectives at this point is going to make the game last any longer. I think fighting over Elder would kind of lose them the game if they lost that, so maybe this is going to go a little bit longer than that situation, but not enough to really help them out, so they're going to have a hell of a time defending their base here with TDMA having the Elder buff. So we're going to see what happens, Carl, but I'm pretty sure the odds just got even worse for the Syndicate.
Yeah, they have to think so. I mean, you either have to fight TDMA with the Elder buff or without the Elder buff. So I think you definitely choose to fight without the Elder buff, would be what the stats would say. For that situation, they're going to give up the third inhibitor as well. Syndicate just not really wanting to commit to a fight. And you understand where they're at. They just can't fight against this Elder buff, but maybe that's why you fight before you give it up. They were poked out a little bit. So we'll see if they're able to defend their base here. We will have 6 super minions per wave pushing into the base here. But they might look to end this a little bit earlier. There's the shockwave coming through the ultimate as well from Pure Salt. Cosmic Radiance not going to land onto it, but it is on 4 members. As Olaf is now under the tower. Biss going reasonably low for him. He's down to half HP, but Pure Salt going to be taken out. You have to think almost immediately, Pure Salt, can he heal? Can he keep himself alive? Yes, he can. The shutdown actually comes through. Bisk has gone down. There's a life form disintegration array. Moyo picking up the kill onto OTGG. There is the passive from the Elder Dragon. He picked up a double kill as well, taking out Pure Salt from this fight. Toxic Vein trying to get himself out, but he is going to be ripped through by JT and the Elder Dragon buff, and TDMA looking to end the game here. It's a 4 versus 2. What can Xavian and Enderfire do? It looks like not a whole lot against the Elder buff. The Nexus is down to half HP, going very low as well. JT gonna keep himself alive, and TDMA even up the series 1-1 and push us to a game 3.
Yeah, and I said before this game I was hoping for a game 3, and it looks like we are gonna get one. So I'm looking forward to that. And we'll get into game 3 after the break here. But yeah, this game 2 was very interesting. I think one good point made in the comments is that the Syndicate picked Trundle but banned a bunch of tanks, which is kind of interesting. Normally Trundle considered a counter to those tank champions. You probably want to leave them up if you're going to pick the Trundle, but Yeah, I have to. I think you mentioned this earlier, Carl, and I'll just go ahead and agree with you here. I think TDMA really won this game through the jungle position. I think that's probably an accurate assessment here. There's a lot of things going wrong for them in solo lanes and even the bot lane as well. A couple times, despite them, being a little more dominant in the bot lane. But yeah, Biss just came absolutely through on this Olaf pick, something we were definitely expecting. Being fans of Olaf ourselves.
Yeah, it's just, this is why I'm a fan of the Olaf. He gets a little bit ahead and he just doesn't ever need to look back for himself in this point, and he's able to just rip through the jungle. You can't stop him, you can't kill him. Once the Ocean Soul comes through as well, you're just not able to, how do you take him out? You just can't. They focus fire, they were able to take him out in that team fight, and it cost them their Nexus. So that's not what you're looking for against the Olaf. I think the Yasuo is an interesting experiment, but it just didn't really work out for him. Like to see Pure Salt back on the AD carry. Again, he got more than 10 kills in that last game, and the Yasuo, it's a fun experiment. No real knock-up help. Just not really sure what they were going for. Maybe put him back on a marksman if you're looking for that game 3.
For sure. Yeah, I think that's another element as well. And this really did look like almost like a patch 10.1 game, really. I mean, that's back then at the start of the season, it was really just kind of that early game, go for the dragons, win off Dragon Soul and stuff like that. Since then, it's really evolved to be more late game, really. There's more win conditions available to Rift Herald and stuff like that. But man, with this one, TDMA just went through the Dragon Soul, got it all knocked down, and ended the game in 35 minutes. Then it was over. So it's kind of a beginning of the season game there. But yeah, I'm looking forward to game 3.
Yeah, definitely. Solid game here by TDMA fighting back in the series. It is now 1-1. Game 3 is coming up right after this break. Everybody, don't go away. Should be a barn burner to the end of this series. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes. We'll see you then. Welcome back, everybody, to the rubber match in this quarterfinal series between the Syndicate and Team Dark Matter Academy here in the quarterfinals of Style Esports Season 2. It is playoff time. It's Game 3. This is serious. This should be the absolute best of these teams that we've seen so far. I am very excited. I am, of course, Garl Carl, joined by X-Men87, and we're getting straight into Champ Select for this game. No waiting around. Let's get some picks.
Yes, Carl, one of these teams will move forward, one will not, and it's all come down to this Game 3. Moving into this ban phase, seeing some of the same old stuff. Syndicate taking away Sejuani and Aphelios this go round, and coming back for TMA is that Vladimir ban, of course, targeting Toxic Vein. A couple other Vladimir players of note on Syndicate as well, so an all-around good Syndicate ban. The Jin ban coming through as well. I was about to mention that, and it's in the logo, folks. That's just it's just the Syndicate special. Pure Salt, very good
It's
on
real
Jin.
banned.
So, yeah, so an interesting one there. We saw Pure Salt had a pure performance on Ezreal, there earlier in the series. JT also having pretty good Ezreal game as well, and more ADC bans. The
AD carry
year.
bans continue.
Yeah, there goes the Xayah.
Here's the first pick.
First pick for the Syndicate. They had first pick. They knew they had it. It's going to be Olaf for Xavian. Game 2 saw Bisk take Olaf to new heights, I would say. Carl, I've seen some pretty monster Olafs.
That was a strong Olaf.
Yeah, that was pretty big. So it's going to be Xavian taking that one back. The salty run back. You think you can play Olaf? No, sir. I am the Olaf main in this series, and we are going to see another Olaf game here. Tarek for the third game in the series. Going to flip over to Jay of the Deeps for this game. Excuse me. So it's just more Tarek's getting the last couple Tarek games in before the nerf coming through in 10.10. So we're going to see another Tarek game as well. How much this game are we going to run back, Carl?
Looks like not a whole lot, as Bisk is running back Game 1. So a little bit of combination here, Game 1 and Game 2. It makes sense. You have to think these teams kind of come into the series with a baseline of prep and then edit as needed in each game. So we've seen kind of various adaptations, but kind of the same core of champions coming through in each game. The Rakan coming through for OTGG here, and the Kaisa locked in saying, hey, don't ban any more of my marksmen. I'm locking in the bot lane right now. Kind of challenging TDMA to pick their own bot laner at this point in the game. You know, those two more bans could come through. That would be 6 AD carry bans plus the Kaisa picked away. Could push JT very far down into the pool. So we'll see what they decide to go for, but I would expect a marksman here. But yeah, like we said, Moyo going back to that poke mage that we saw in the first game on the 6th.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah, and Kai's an interesting blind pick in my mind. I was expecting, the immediately kind of respond with an early game burst ADC. Of course, Jin taken away here in this game. I was expecting something like Draven maybe, but Tristana just as good with the early game burst, right? So Tristana coming through to counter that Kai'Sa a little bit there. We're going to see an interesting matchup on that one. The Rakan versus Tarek again here in this series. And yeah, so much of this we've already seen. It's really just the ADCs that are different so far. But that Orianna ban coming through from TDMA, targeted Enderfire, had a pretty good Orianna game last game, excuse me. And I think TDMA just kind of recognizing that they had picked a bit better ball carrier here in the Rakan, a little bit more engaged there. And with 2 picks left, you don't want to give them Orianna and another good ball carrier. So I'd take away that Orianna, and I think it's probably a pretty good idea there from TDMA.
Yeah, they're saying, give us back the Zoe from Game 1. You looked less scary on that. Drop the Zoe ban, put the Orianna ban back. Maybe a little bit of psychology there. Trying to get him to go back toward that Zoe pick. You mentioned the Tristana. We talked about that a little bit so far. I'm not a huge fan of Tristana. It's, again, very solo Q-esque, which, I said about the comp last game before they won the game with it. So it shows what I know, I guess. But, Tristana, if she's not able to get ahead, just is remarkably useless actually in team fights. Like if she goes into a team fight 0-0, most other AD carries are going to out damage her, and you kind of think, she's able to jump, get the resets, do a lot of burst damage, but she has a lot of trouble killing more than one target. She has a lot of difficulty hitting. She has to put her explosive charge, the E, on somebody, and then pretty much commit to hitting that person, or you're just wasting a lot of damage. And she can kind of get through tanks, but like if you're trying to kill the Olaf, like if your explosive charge doesn't kill him, you're kind of just out to dry, and maybe you hop away from him, but then he just hits you with an undertow and runs at you. So not the greatest pick here for me. I might like to see a Vayne coming through with the Taric. Pretty safe with the Taric. Does well into Kaisa. Just off the top of the head. Ashe a little bit too immobile. Might have suggested that as well. But he went for the Tristana, looking for that early game pressure, and definitely can get some kills in the early game. Enderfire could find himself, or Pure Salt rather, could find himself going down very quickly. And there's that Zoe that they were baited into picking, we could say.
Yep, and Toxic Vayne is going to be back on Gangplank. I think that's probably a good idea. Gangplank turned out pretty good for them there in Game 2, despite the loss. Toxic Vayne looking very solid on the champion, but we are going to get to see that. So it really is just the Syndicate running back a lot of what we've already seen in this series, but with a very solid jungler now. In Olaf, going to be up against Echo, which I think is probably one of the champions that does a little bit better into Olaf than most of the junglers. Really what you want to be doing with Olaf is taking it to him either super late game and just kind of waiting out the Olaf, going even, trying to keep him off that big monster, stuff like that, or doing what Echo wants to do, which is just kind of outburst him and try to get the stun off, and the safety also with Chrono Break as well. So Echo a little bit stronger here into the Olaf, certainly than the Trundle was going to be. So this should be a little bit more an interesting jungle matchup. That said, for me, still leans a little bit more in the favor of Olaf. So we might see another Monster Olaf game here for a different jungler, but same champion.
Yeah, there's not a huge number of champions in the pool that really beat Olaf in a duel. We talked about dodging the undertows, and Echo definitely can do that. He does have that one dash to maybe dodge that first undertow, maybe get a bit of an advantage, and he is able to get out a little bit easier with that Chrono Break, able to cover just a lot of distance, which is Olaf's big limiting factor. Is he can't just flash on you. He's no gap closers except for just running at you with Ragnarok on. So we'll see how that works out. And I do want to point out, we didn't mention this yet. It's Tristana mid for Moyo, and it's Ziggs in the bot lane for JT. So that's an interesting little adaptation. I take back my criticism of the Tristana. I kind of like this in the bot lane. Does reasonably well against Kaisa, so she has no way to poke back on the Ziggs, and you kind of just have to hard engage if you are Pure Salt and OTGG. So they could be vulnerable to counter ganks. They're forced to play a little bit aggressive, or Ziggs is just going to poke them out.
Yeah, and it's a weakness, but not necessarily one that hurts the lane too much, right? I mean, Kai'Sa and Rakan have that engage potential, right, as well. And if you want to go in early, there are not too many junglers that are better early game than Olaf is. Certainly some with better ganks, but if we're going super aggressive, there is that setup from Rakan. Looking at the 3v3 here, I think that's still going the side of the Syndicate. But man, yeah, all of a sudden with those two lanes swapped there, I think TDMA is looking a lot better. I think Squib's Urgot coming back here is going to do pretty well for them as well. I think he might understand the lane a little bit better. At least I don't go up against too many gangplanks. So, going up against one twice in a row, he might have learned a thing or two here from that lane, maybe hopefully having a better time. So, but yeah, I mean, just like all the other games so far in the series, difficult to call in champ select, which is something I like, right? Sometimes we see in style esports that, teams just lose games in drafts. And I don't think that's what we saw here at all tonight. I think we're seeing some pretty solid drafts, and another one here in game 3. I don't think either of these teams is necessarily the cut and dry winner just yet, but between the two comps, I think I'm still giving it to the Syndicate there, but just by just marginal differences, right, Carl?
Yeah, once again, all 3 games, there haven't really been glaring draft holes. We can criticize the Trundle versus no real tanks in the last game potentially, but these drafts have been very, very strong with these teams. Clear adaptations coming through in each game. We're kind of seeing stealing champs back and forth, like the Olaf in this game saying, hey, we're going to grab that. The Ziggs coming back, but now it's in the bot lane. We're kind of seeing these like uncanny adaptations. It's similar, but it's not quite the same. Going through for both these teams, everything on the line now. The winner goes through to the semifinals in Syndicate in Style Esports Season 2 playoffs here. The loser goes home with nothing. We'll see you next season. So not something either of these teams really want to face at this point. Once again, the Syndicate, the defending champions here of Style Esports, and Team Dark Matter Academy, the #1 seed going into this tournament. So both these teams would very much like to proceed, and I think you would think both of these teams would expect to go forward from this series, would not like to be pushed out here in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's definitely a fair statement. You have the first seed here in TDM and reigning champions in the Syndicate. Neither of these teams would like to drop out in quarterfinals, so it's going to be pretty surprising for either of these teams to take this one home. But we got some synergy going on between the IG Kaiza and IG Rakan, so maybe that'll give them a little bit of a benefit there, but probably nothing too much. Other than that, you seeing anything crazy here in these keystones and summoner spells, Carl?
Particularly point out, no double teleport this game, so a little bit less mobility. Gangplank and Urgot having those, but the mid laners both opting for Ignite. So I think the mid lane is really where this is going to be partying the most this game. The exhaust in the bot lane for Tarek is enough disengaged that I would expect to see the majority of the fireworks around the mid lane. Tristana, if you can bait out the jump, can be killed very easily by Olaf. Echo on the Zoe as well. Zoe not really that mobile. Her ultimate doesn't really count as mobility because she just goes back to where she started. So I think the mid lane, both these laners really trying to kill each other. We'll see who's able to come out ahead, but I think that's where a lot of the focus will be.
So who do you think has the better satchel usage? Is it going to be Moyo or JT?
I'm gonna go. I mean, Moyo it was pretty good in that first game, right? We saw him
Yeah.
get the first tower. He, postponed my criticism of their Herald usage, blew up that first tower. So, I think JT's got a pretty high standard to live up to. He was, Moyo kept himself safe a couple of times, killed I think 2 towers with that satchel charge. So, we're starting the counter here for JT, and we'll see if he's able to one up his teammate here. Could be really important. I think MVP of this series might be based on that satchel charge. So see how that works out for him here. That clock will be ticking for JT. We better see those satchels, my good sir. Take out some towers for us. But definitely a somewhat strong ability. I would say one of the better non-ultimate abilities actually in the game.
Yeah,
not utilized very much, but I think if you actually look at the power in that ability, it's quite strong.
Yeah, absolutely. Big shoes to fill, like you said. So we'll be paying attention to JT's usage of that W there. But just looking around the map, it looks like both teams just kind of content to 5-point here, hold steady. Maybe might see Xavian pushing forward a little bit. Might get baited by Bisk here, but is actually going to drop that ward. I think might technically be a deep ward, but I'm not really sure that's going to see anything, Carl.
Shallow ward.
Maybe a shallow ward. A little bit better named there, but on the flip side, it's another shallow ward from TDMA there on the bot side for the Syndicate. So both teams kind of lacking the vision game here. Not too much jungle tracking going to be going on. And really that benefits no one more than Xavian, right? I mean, if you're Olaf, you love it when the enemy team doesn't know where you are. That's where the magic happens, right, Carl? So.
That's what we saw last game. The Bisk just kind of running rampant in Xavian's jungle. Xavian likely to want to make up for that little bet that he has. He might probably get spotted. He actually is going to go around. No, he does not. I tell a lie. I'm just making stuff up. He is going to be spotted on that ward straight away. Actually, might be clearing that out. Looks like he has. So bought that sweeper. Doesn't even want to wait for that dragon to come up to try to go for that. He's going to say my sweeper will be back up. And I'm clearing out the vision for now. So they now have no idea where he is. And that definitely could benefit him. Is he in our jungle? Is he in your jungle? Is he ganking me? Who knows? A lot of fear in that early game, Olaf. You do not want to see him popping out of the fog of war.
Yeah, and after Bisk's performance on Olaf, it was a point I was all set to make that the Syndicate might have to switch up their comps so much to play around that champion that it might be better to just ban him. Well, the point still kind of holds now that they picked it away from TDMA, right? I mean, TDMA have to play around this Olaf, and he's just so oppressive, right? Jungle tracking is where it starts. You got to get the deep vision, and they've already kind of failed at that a little bit here. They're not really sure where this Olaf is, but Olaf, one of those champions where if you don't have the discipline, he's going to pull the wool over your eyes. I mean, if you don't take the time to ward the epic monsters, ward the dragon pits, stuff like that, even if you go for one more camp, that's all the time Olaf needs to be able to take a dragon away from you. So TDMA, really the onus is on them to keep control of this Olaf. And he did have that big performance from Bisk, so hopefully they know a little bit more about the champion than the Syndicate we're letting on in game 2. But the work is cut out for them for sure. Olaf, a very strong competitive champion.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see him nosing around Bisk's jungle here, and a bit of trading in the bot lane. A couple of engages so far from OTGG. Like we said, a lot of engaging. Probably going to go on in that bot lane. They do have to go forward. We talked about Keystones a little bit. I'm a little surprised not to see the Halo Blades coming through for Pure Salt. That's become kind of standard on the Kai'Sa, just giving her a lot more lane pressure, able to just kind of one-shot people more. Get those 3 autos through, maybe the W as well to proc that passive. Little surprised not to see that. He has gone for the press the attack, which is kind of longer sustained damage, might be able to help him kill Squib or Jay the Deeps later in the game, but not able to take out the squishies as easily. So we'll see how it works out for him. I don't think it's troll by any means, but definitely maybe not the usual.
Yeah, for sure. Javian not having quite the vertical jungling game that Bisk had last game, but still playing pretty aggressively. Bisk actually wandering into the enemy jungle here briefly. Looked like he almost might have got caught out there, but
Ring around the rosy, they walk.
Yeah, managed to get around there, get that scrying bloom out, and catches the Xavian out, running towards Krugs. Bisk is gonna get those Raptors back here, and actually ends up with a little bit of a CS lead over the Olaf.
Who's catching who here? Enderfire and Bisk going at it. Bisk catches the worst end of that trade, having to walk himself out. Still about half HP though. And Enderfire is out of Corrupting Potion that charges, so he might have to recall and get a bit of a purchase in there at some point. No more regeneration for himself. But he's doing okay up in this mid lane. Has caught up in CS. Was down a little bit earlier in the game. And CS number is pretty even across the board so far. Zavin going for the recall. Might look for an early dragon, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. Olaf, as happened last game, very good at those early game dragons.
Yeah, you definitely got to be looking out for the early dragons too, right? But I think one critical difference between this game and game 2 is that Xavian, the Olaf, really doesn't have as good gank targets, right? They're in game 2. I mean, Biss just had, the run of the mill, just literally any of the lanes he had a solid gank potential in, but really didn't need any of them. Able to just get by on the dragons and the CS too. But Xavian's going to have to rely on those things if he wants to get ahead, and he's already kind of falling behind, right? I mean, we see TNMA taking this dragon now, and Bisk is already like over 10 CS ahead of the Olaf on Echo. So it's not looking like it's going to be the same kind of Olaf game we saw last game.
Yeah, so far not looking quite as good. Always time for that to change, though. You never know when he, picks up a random couple of kills, and you're like, well, okay, that's a strong Olaf. So we'll see how that works out for him. Down a little bit of CS, like you mentioned so far, but not down too much gold, 150 at this point, so not a whole lot. He does have his top side to clear still, and that Scuttle Crab as well should help himself catch up a little bit to Bisk. Don't think he'll be too far behind, although he is down a level as well. So trying to do his best to catch up as the bot lane here. Pushing in a big wave, that CS lead will quickly disappear for Pure Salt and OTGG as JT comes back to lane with that lost chapter, helping him sustain that mana permanently.
Yeah, for sure. One thing I haven't pointed out yet is the Dark Harvest Bisk is taking on Echo. Not an insane pick or anything, but I think Electrocute might be a little bit more popular, so Dark Harvest may be a bit more of a fringe pickup there, but it's my understanding that also a very strong keystone on the champion, but we'll try and keep up with those Dark Harvest stacks moving forward into the game. Doesn't have any just yet, hasn't been able to pick out any of those so far, but we'll definitely be looking out for that one moving forward.
Just not a whole lot of fighting really so far in this game. These teams, nobody wants to be the one to make the mistake that loses you the series and kind of knocks you out of playoffs. So would expect to see a little bit more conservative play from both of these teams in this game. Might explain also why the Olaf has been a little bit more chill. As I say that, though, he runs into Bisk trying to take his red buff. Not something you want to do. Don't steal Olaf's buffs. He's going to get all pissed off. And it looks like he will secure that red buff for himself, saying, hey, get out of my jungle. And Bisk does, taking that blast cone out pretty quickly. Does not want to tango with that Olaf, even though he's only level 5.
Yeah, and still not the kind of trades you want if you're Xavian, right? You want to be the one taking enemy buffs, not showing up to find your buffs being taken, right? So maybe a little bit more aggressive play in order. But again, Olaf, just one of those champions that could just farm back into a game, right? I mean, it's so often junglers get behind, and that's just it for them. But with Olaf, you just throw more axes, get more camps, and you're just fine. So definitely possible that he just farms himself back into the game. Even as I say that, catching up with Bisk in CS.
Speaking of Bisk, he has crept his way into the bot lane, into that second bush as well. No ultimates available for the Syndicate's bot lane, so I don't think there's any risk that they will really be going for an engage that they might get, kind of baited into. Not likely without the ultimates. Although, as I say that, Pure Salt levels up 2-6, has the ultimate. He might find himself in a decent amount of trouble here. They want to fight. There's the engage, but Bisk pops out of that. There's the Inferno Mount as well. Pure Salt with the ultimate to get himself to safety, and what looked like it could have been a disastrous fight for the Syndicate turns into a little bit of trade and an ultimate burn by Pure Salt.
Yeah, and Syndicate, I mean, there's just a lot of mobility going on, right? A lot of escapes coming, but it was a good attempt there from Bisk. Very well done to maneuver through the vision there from the Syndicate and get into that last bush, but spent a lot of time on that gank, right? Pretty rough. They weren't able to get too much out of that. You mentioned Pure Salt's ultimate, but in terms of gank results, not the best. I think they picked up OTG's flash as well, but you want a little bit more if you're spending that much time on a gank, right? Especially when you're up against Olaf. I mean, he's just able to take things so quickly, and to my point, they have just picked up the Rift Herald, so oh wow, yeah, actually Bisk using the ultimate there as well.
Bisk dipping out real quick after that one.
Yeah, being very cautious around the Olaf, as he's not obviously familiar with the champion, so doesn't want to spend too much time around the Olaf there. But I feel like we've been spending a lot of time in the jungle role, but that's really the only place where anything's really happening. So like you mentioned, both teams just kind of taking this one super slow.
Big trade in the mid lane, speaking of taking things not slowly. Moyo forced out, had to flash away from Enderfire. He will have to recall it maybe a little bit late to that dragon fight. So a bit of a fight there. Both mid laners recall. Xavian is there, though, to push in the wave. So net benefit slightly to the Syndicate in that situation, as that wave will die to the tower. Bisk clearing out the Raptors, might catch the end of that. Looks like he will, so... Dragon is the next objective available on the map. Chrono Break should be back available for Bisk right around when the Dragon does spawn, so shouldn't be that big of a waste. Using that in the Herald Pit, as it looks like a little bit of vision control. Going over to the Syndicate as they prepare for this. Bisk actually caught out, does not have the Chrono Break just yet, but Xavian wasn't sure where the rest of the team was, didn't want to commit to that, but the Dragon being started up.
Yep, it's that Infernal Dragon. Syndicate looking like they might have it, but Bisk could steal here. There is time. Not gonna look for that one after all. And Syndicate are gonna pick up their super late Mega Inferno bomb from KT.
Tickling the heels once again.
So that's a big cooldown there for the Ziggs player. But yeah, Syndicate are gonna pick up their first dragon of the game on their way to Dragon Soul. The rest of these dragons are once again gonna be Ocean Dragons.
Top lane. Looks like we might see a dive come through, but called off as was some help. Xavian on his way up top. He does have that Herald. We'll see where he drops that. Has a couple of more minutes on that, about the same amount of time, I believe, as plates will be left on the map. So hopefully it will be able to get a few of those. Pure Salt dodging out from some stuns in the bot lane. So we kind of reset back into probably a little bit of a farming pattern until that Herald play comes through. But we should have another minute or so of reasonable calm as these champs just push out the wave, get some resets in, and decide where they want to take their next fight.
Yeah, it's almost strange. There's so many early game champions here that are just kind of just playing it super safe and not really having too much going on. And you got the Kai'Sa, the Olaf, for famously early game that's just kind of going even, right? I mean, there's no kills on Summoner's Rift yet. We're at 12 minutes. First blood has yet to be taken, so it's a little strange. There's a lot of late game going on here too as well, so that's probably factoring into that. But it is pretty strange. We mentioned both teams will be playing safe. You don't want to be the one that ruins the series for your team, but this is almost getting to kind of Twilight Zone's level of safety, excuse me, especially if you're familiar with style esports. I mean, this is very uncommon for the league. Yeah, and the Syndicate. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure in game one there were like 60 kills or something, but and it might be
is gone.
Yeah, there goes
No
first
flash
blood.
available, but here is the fight in the bot lane. Cosmic Radiance has come down onto JT, trying to get himself out, has the Kai'Sa passive on him, waiting for that invulnerability to go down. Xavian picking up that first kill. Jay of the Deeps going to escape from this one, but the bot laner was taking out. Squib teleporting in. This may have been an unwise decision. OTGG gonna knock him up. Can he keep himself alive? Yes, he can. The heal coming through. Squib trying to flash himself out to safety. Pure Salt is on the chase. Undertow gonna come through. Squib, one more auto attack should do it. Pure Salt procs the passive, picking up the kill onto that one. Xavian has continued onto the Jay of the Deeps, but here comes Bisk, and Moyo is arriving as well. The teleport from Toxic Vein is coming through. This is turning into a massive team fight.
Everyone is here.
Just way caught out in this situation. Xavian picks up the kill, and it's 2 kills and an assist for the Olaf as this goes disastrously wrong for TDMA.
Yeah, disastrously wrong is correct, Carl. Syndicate really came through with that one after losing first blood. Almost like they were waiting for that first blood to come through to really pull the trigger. Didn't want to give it away, but once it was gone, they came back with a vengeance. They're dropping that Rift Herald, getting that bottom lane turret. They trade first blood for 3 kills, first turret, and so much gold coming back for the Syndicate. One of probably the weirder cross-map plays I've seen. I'm pretty sure all 10 champions were involved in that fight. I might be wrong about that one, but if not, it was close. So yeah, a weird big fight here at just 13, 14 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. And the gold, if you're looking at it from the side of the Syndicate, ending up in exactly the right place. You have, 2/3 of your gold win on the Olaf, the other third on Kai, so those 2 big carries for you. Zoe will be, strong, kind of regardless of how much gold she has with those sleepy bubbles, like we can see right there, 0-1, doing half the health. So the gold not quite as important on that champion, but your 2 carries in this game, that Olaf and the Kai'Sa, very strong already. Upgraded Q from Kai'Sa. That's her big power spike early on in the game. If you can get an isolated Q onto somebody like JT, I mean, that's going to be, 40% of his health probably taken away straight away from that isolated Q. Was buffed recently to include a few more missiles as well. So something to look at as we get into probably this next Dragon fight, or maybe the Herald, both of them coming up in around a minute. So we'll see what these teams choose to fight for. But that Olaf certainly a lot stronger than he was, 2 minutes ago.
Yeah, absolutely. We were harping on Xavian's Olaf, but you could have blinked and missed it. Now suddenly he's on top of his team, really the central carry here. 201's got most gold in the game, so looking very, very solid here on Summoner's Rift. Actually, a couple of teammates pulling ahead just as I say that, but yeah, doing very, very well now. Certainly much better than he has been doing thus far. Looks like him and his team, the Syndicate, are going to be looking for this Rift Herald play, but TDMA are in the area. We might see another fight over an Epic Monster here, Carl.
Could certainly be. No flash for OTGG, did waste it in that little tower exchange on Jay of the Deeps, who is coming back from base. Cosmic Radiance is still available. All of the ultimates are now up, as we might see a fight. The quickness comes through, trying to engage onto JT. He's going to be taken out straight away. OTGG back into the backline of his own team. Moyo trying to jump himself out to safety. He is going to pick up the kill onto OTGG and get the flash over the wall to keep himself alive. Bisk going forward onto the backline as well. Toxic Vein, that's the double kill, though, coming through for the 80 carry. Pure Salt doing very well for himself. Cosmic Radiance has come down. Bisk getting himself to safety. Oh, the W from Kai'Sa, not quite enough to take it out. Cosmic Radiance was still on, but that kill is picked up by Toxic Vein, and in the end, a 3-for-1 in favor of the Syndicate as they move toward the Dragon.
Yeah, and that gold lead gets even bigger, right? Where before it was 2K, now almost 3. And yeah, the Syndicate are moving on to their Dragon. This is going to be the second Dragon of the game. They won fairly handily there in game 1, able to pick up the Dragon's Soul and kind of roll that into a victory. Here with the Ocean Soul, I think if they can get that one, it's going to be even more volatile than that Mountain Soul was in game 1, especially on champions like everyone on their team. I mean, Olaf and Kai'Sa especially the Olaf benefit, yeah, hugely from the Ocean Soul. So that's going to be real big if they can get that one. Unfortunately for them, TDM do have a Dragon, right? So it's going to be pushed back 5 minutes than it could have been. 5 minutes further than it could have been, excuse me, and some members of their team don't scale especially well. So it's going to be an uphill climb, especially getting that last Dragon, right? And they're going to definitely have to take the next 2 if they want to be able to get that one. It's only going to get harder if they're missing Dragons after this. Yeah, they're definitely looking for that Dragon Soul. TDMA looking for this Rift Herald now. And hopefully they'll be able to drop that and get some gold if you're a TDMA fan. And we'll see where they're dropping that. Syndicate do take the mid turret back, though, getting a little bit of money back from that play.
Yeah, absolutely. They tried to, they decided to trade that for the Herald, saying, we'll take the one tower for the promise of a tower later, which is essentially what that Rift Herald is. Has been summoned up in the top lane, but not really sure what it's going to get for him. You'd think the charge will just go off. I think Squib could have killed that tower anyway. So if that Herald is taken out now, which I think it will be by Xavian, before it can get another charge off, not maybe what they were quite looking for. It may get another charge off. We'll see if he's able to stop that from happening. Looks like he was not able to stop the charge. So the charge does go off, but still, no extra turret taken just yet. You kind of have that, turret you can maybe be able to take later as it is softened up. But for right now, it's money in the pocket of the Syndicate.
Yep, so they get a little bit of value there, TDMA, from the Herald. Maybe not as much, as you said, as they would have liked, but they get something. Elsewhere on the map, just trying to get some vision control. Most of that vision control is going over to TDMA, trying to claw their way back into this game. And, if you've watched the stream before, I like to say vision control is how you get back into the game. It's how you make picks. That's how you know where the enemy team is, of course. So they're doing very well to be able to get back in this game. Got a little bit of a death bush going on here in the bot lane, trying to pick off a member of the Syndicate. OTGG is wandering close to the
bush. He's quite mobile, though. Should be able to get himself to safety. Yes, he does. Yeah. Xavian was waiting in the wings, too, so not maybe the fight you want to be committing to there if you are TDMA against a pretty scary bot lane at this point in the game. Pure Salt and OTGG. Quite strong. Not quite the Rage Blade yet. For Pure Salt, he'll have that coming through. Almost has money for it. Needs just a couple of more 100 gold. Actually does recall, but actually I did not see that he had the Amplifying Tome, so we did have enough for that. My mistake. That one has that item now. Will hit a lot harder now that he's able to get that passive, pretty significantly more often for himself. The attack speed as well, and the penetration coming through. Rage Blade, just an item that's pretty much built for Kai'Sa. Magic damage, physical damage, attack speed, and increased procs of his passive. So something to look out for here. Pure Salt, very, very strong. We'll see if he's able to be kept alive by OTGG, or if the dive from Moyo perhaps will take him out.
Yeah, and critically, the opposing marksman, Moyo and Tristana, just the Bork, right? I mean, he picks up the BF sword just as I say that, but looking considerably weaker than this Kai'Sa is. So not what you're hoping for if you're TDMA. Probably need to get a little bit better on the AD damage for sure. But yeah, it looks like Syndicate are setting up for this next dragon. They should have a pretty easy time of it here. They're fairly far ahead here at this stage. They've had a lot of objective control so far. Could be putting them on soul point here in the next minute.
Yeah, for sure. Something to watch out for. The soul point, is such an interesting change this season. It just forces teams to fight. And there's been not a whole lot of fighting in this game, but I think around these dragons, we will almost certainly see fights, especially if the Syndicate is contesting them. Maybe they want to give it up for maybe pressure on the Baron or something else. But I don't really see a word where you can give up the soul point here. If you are TDMA, I think you have to fight for this. If you are Team Dark Matter, and they have to walk into this, they're just running into the poke, they're running into Enderfire. He might actually get stunned up, dodges the stun, very nice dodge, but him actually is going to get taken out with that stun. He's going to be barely able to keep himself alive for just a couple of more seconds, but JT picks that up in the end. The teleports come through from Toxic Bane, and there's the ultimate as well, but Pure Salt uses the ultimate over the wall, but he's going to be taken out in the end of this. Xavian having to flash away as well. Bisk on the chase as the Syndicate is in full retreat. Toxic Bane probably regretting teleporting in at this point, is just gone back to farming in the bot lane, and like the Syndicate in the first two games, TDMA pulls a fight out of a hat, goes 4-0.
Yeah, and the teleport there, I think, probably the right idea from Toxic Vein, but with Squib just kind of being there already and that 4-second channel coming through from the teleport, just a little bit late to the fight, right? I mean, the positioning was also off. He was way far behind the fight, too. So an unfortunate little 4v5 there. Goes the way of TDMA, and they are going to lose this dragon. We mentioned earlier that it would be a huge win condition for the Syndicate if they were able to pick up the Dragon Soul. That just got pushed back another 5 minutes, right? We're looking at, over 10 minutes, probably more like 12 minutes before Syndicate could, like the earliest time the Syndicate could pick up Dragon Soul. That's like 34 minutes, something like that. That's a lot of time, right? That's a lot could happen in that time. So I think that win condition is either just being closed or is definitely closing, right? It's only going to get worse for the Syndicate from here on out. So I think they need to start making some changes, maybe kind of pivoting a little bit more towards Toxic Vayne as a focal point for their team. They've kind of had him in a sideline for most of this game. I think it might be time to call him back home and maybe start capitalizing on some of the advantages he's built for himself. Deathless so far in this game, 104, got most CS on the team apart from
Whoa, Moyo going in here in the top lane, might be paying the price with his life. He does go down. There was an Olaf right around that corner right as he jumped in. Unlucky is what he's saying in the chat after that one, but taken out just a little bit over aggressive here. Bisk might find himself in some trouble as well, able to get to the parallel convergence to keep himself alive, but pressure in the top lane now for the Syndicate.
Yeah, and it was a good look to go after Toxic Vayne, I think, right? We were just mentioning it might be a new win condition for them, but huge damage there from the Ziggs, but not.
There's that isolated Q on JT. He's going very nice flash away, double flash, Pure Soul, great mechanics on that play. The double knock up as well. There's that Q. Once again, Bisk able to get himself out with the chrono break. And oh my goodness, Jay of the Deep picking up the kill on the Pure Soul. He's taken out. Endrefire going to trade back onto Jay of the Deeps. A lot of ultimates channel there, kind of late in the fight. We saw a bit of a re-engage going forward as the supports traded for the AD carry.
Yeah, I think you said in game 2, supportal combat, something like that. That was pretty funny, but yeah, Jay the Deep's kind of putting in some work there. I really thought Pure Soul made it out, able to dodge that stun, but yeah, couldn't quite get out of that situation. Syndicate looking a lot better all of a sudden. That gold lead, only like 300 gold. They're looking pretty good, so made a little bit of a comeback with the top lane turret, and I think most of that is just down to Toxic Vayne making a big showing. He's got the most gold on his team here at this point. It's a big Gangplank, right? And Gangplank is only getting stronger as the game progresses. Got the Triforce, got the Essence Reaver. When he picks up that Infinity Edge, it'll be pretty good for the Syndicate. So I think they're still in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the dragon win condition has been pushed back a little bit, but you know, is still there in the end. If you get that Ocean Soul, that should be enough to finish out the game sooner or later, except possibly if you give away the Elder Dragon. So we'll see what team is able to secure that. This, you know, 5th dragon of the game is definitely a turning point. We'll put somebody on soul point, so could have a lot of implications about how the rest of this game does end up playing out. So gold, as we said, only 500, basically flat at this point. Dead even game at this point. 3-4 in the turrets, 8-7 in the kills. This game almost as close as could be as we move toward that 5th dragon of the game. The Baron's also available now. The Kaisa takes this quite quickly, as does the Tristana with that Blade of the Ruin King. The Zig's a little bit slower than you might normally see, so I think the Syndicate probably a faster Baron, but that is also on the table if these teams want to look for it.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely potentially a trade back Baron. I think that almost might be a solid idea. I'm not sure if the Syndicate want to go for that. I almost feel like that's something TDMA could go for. I feel like they can give up a dragon here. I just feel like they maybe scale a little bit better. They're not any huge scaling on their team, I don't feel, but just maybe a little bit better than the Syndicate. But so I think maybe trading the Baron back could be better for TDMA, but we will have to see as we move forward. And it does seem to me that TDMA is setting up some vision control around both pits, actually. So we'll have to see where they move towards here. The Syndicate posturing for this dragon as it is up in less than a minute. Another Ocean Dragon, of course. So we'll have to see how they go for this one. All ultimates are up on Summoner's Rift for every single champion. I don't actually think there are any summoners down either. It looks like the bot lane for TMA are the only ones missing summoners, so it's going to be a full team fight. Everyone's got their cooldowns.
Yeah, absolutely. Bisk and Moyo now walking over. We're a little bit split off from their team. Toxic Vayne looks like he's walking over as well. Does the teleport, but this could be a bit of a collapse here onto Moyo and Bisk. Looks like no, they will get themselves out. So possibly a bit of a chance lost there as the teams do coalesce now around this dragon. 5 versus 5. Moyo a little bit behind his team. There looks to be the engage. OTGG, the quickness, not going to land. He might try to make the best of it, but it's just not going to work out for him. Push back. Inferno Bomb does come through. Not a whole lot of damage coming through from that. OTGG trying to heal up his team as best he can. Parallel Convergence does come through. No engages. Both these teams look to back away and take a break in this fight before going back at it once more. Not sure if that dragon is visible. It goes over to TDMA, however. Ragnarok's been popped as well. OTGG very low as well. Cosmic Radiant's going to come through the ultimate onto OTGG. He's going to be taken out by Squib. The fleeing now forced on his Zavian as the Syndicate is in full retreat of this fight. Moyo flashing forward. Devin not quite going to go down. Summoner heal from Pure Salt to keep himself alive. Bisk with the flash forward as well. Devin going to be going down. That should be the reset given to Moyo. Jumping out of Pure Salt. Pure Salt with a flash away. He has the killer instinct as well if he wants to go for a bit more security on his escape, but he walks himself out 2 for 0 in that fight. The Dragon goes over, and it looks like TDMA might look for Baron.
Yeah, so it was kind of a question. We're talking about which one would TDMA go for. Turns out they get both, Carl. Not expecting that one, but with just one play, once again, it seems like it's happened so many times in this series. One team wrenches back control of this game with another 2 pushing 3K gold lead here. And this time it's TDMA. This time they're taking the 3rd Dragon, and this time they're taking the Baron.
Baron does go over to TDMA. The Syndicate, not the fight they were hoping for. The quickness maybe expended just a little bit too early by OTGG. Thought they could go for a pick, were not able to do so. And once that ultimate's down, the engage potential of this team is just a lot worse. That's their main engage tool. You know, maybe the Gangplank all, but that's not really the hard engage that the Rakan provides. And, you know, after that, Moyo was able to just rip through the team. Squib landed a nice ultimate, able to grind up OTGG with that Fear Beyond Death and push that for that fight win. So TDMA now in full control of this game, I would say. You know, 3,500 gold lead, as well as that 3-2 Dragon Edge and the Baron buff on their backs. They should be able to push, try to maybe break open the base here with this Baron buff, try to get an inhibitor, and work toward closing out the game.
Yeah, they'll definitely be looking for the base here. TDMA will. And that Baron buff is definitely going to help them with that. Xavian is desperately trying to farm back up to the level Bisk is on right now, but even Olaf might have some trouble at this point getting back into this game, just a little bit too far behind. But, you know, there's no harm in clearing camps, clearing vision, stuff like that. It's definitely still a lot of power on the Olaf, but yeah, just a really unfortunate fight there for OTG, missing the quickness and then getting ground up, like you mentioned, by Squib's ultimate. That was pretty rough, Carl. It's normally hoping for a better showing than that one, but TDMA is going to be spread out across the map, trying to get that Baron buff in as many lanes as they can. They're going to have it in all 3 lanes here, I would think, but not particularly pushing any one objective. Might be looking like they're going for this bot lane tower in a little bit here, but the Syndicate are moving to respond. Could see a fight around this turret.
Going for a little bit of a slow push, it does look like here. They might look to dive this tower. Not sure if you really want to be defending this tower if you are the Syndicate. The sleep lands onto Bisk, but he's just going to walk himself out to safety. And the Ragnarok was expended there by Xavier. That's a huge team fighting ultimate. If they do want to take a fight, Mega Inferno Bomb gets a little bit wide, but you know, that's an ultimate that you kind of need to have up if you really want to be taking a team fight. And I think this bot inhibitor turret is not long for this world. It's being hit down. Pure Salt is going to be engaging on Squib. They're going to look to go for the top laner instead. Pure Salt tries to dodge the Fear Beyond Death, but he does, I believe, still get hit by it. And Squib just kind of walks himself out while they give away the bottom lane inhibitor.
Yeah, I think you're right. And burning Ragnarok outside of a team fight is super unfortunate. You mentioned the Syndicate have so few tools to be able to engage with. Ragnarok is one of them, and now they don't have that. So it's going to be much harder for them to fight around their own base objectives, right? And Bisk goes in absolutely
here
bursting Pure Salt.
The teleport coming in. Squib had gone back to base, has recalled, has the Gargoyle Stone Plate to try to keep himself alive in these fights. Should be doing very well. The second inhibitor goes down. The mid and the top are down. And we'll see if TDMA wants to push for the end. They're going to rotate up toward the top lane. That's the last inhibitor that they do have to take. Looking to go for 3 inhibs again. They said it worked last game. We're going to be trying it again in this one. As they walk forward, there's the central charge on the tower, going to explode a little bit before it is low enough to be taken out. There's the quickness going to be going for. This could be the last-ditch fight for the Syndicate. Zavin picking up the kill on Moyo. Bisk has gone into the backline. He's going to be taken out immediately. No Chrono Break was available. Pure Salt is now free hitting in this fight. Squib was under the tower, but it might not be enough. Pure Salt just not able to land the damage. Fear Beyond Death going to go a little bit wide from Squib, and 2 die for each team. But the Syndicate very low here, and their base is still in shambles.
Yeah, it looks like the Syndicate might have been able to defend their base for now. That next dragon coming up, which will be the soul for TDMA if they're able to pick it up. That dragon is coming up in less than 15 seconds now, Carl. So this might be a way for the Syndicate back in the game, but it could just easily be another tool for TDMA to end the game. So we'll have to see how that dragon fight pans out. As you mentioned, 2 members on either team down. but those members will be back up for this Dragon fight. Now, Xavier and Enderfire came up a little bit before Bisk and Moyo did, so that could factor into how this fight goes. But as we see both teams making a beeline for this Dragon pit, it might not matter too much. The Syndicate have arrived on this team first, but they're going to have to quickly concede. Yeah, so that quickness won't be up just yet. It might be up
just a few seconds, and they can delay long enough. Squib is so tanky at this point. You know, mostly an AD build here from Pure Salt, just not able to really hit through Squib's defensive statistics, and it looks like they might be giving up the soul here. The recall coming through from Pure Salt. He is going to stay. There is teleport on Toxic Vein, so we can clear the base for a little while, and then maybe look to teleport if there is a fight. Squib being tickled down by that Drowsy. Moyo waiting in the wings, has a nice flank here. I think you have to go for this Dragon, you have to go for a steal. Xavier doesn't flash, is not going to go for it, and the soul goes over to TDMA, the Syndicate, just not willing to fight for these high-value Dragons in these last 2 games. It might lead to their ruin, as TDMA now pushing down the mid.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to pull the trigger, even if you don't have the advantage, right, Carl? But the Syndicate playing it safe here at what could be the end of Game 3, and they'll be defending their base once again. This time TDMA with the Ocean Soul. Now, that's one of the bigger advantages you can have in League of Legends. I think everyone's pretty familiar with that one, but it's going to be
Moyo taken out. Here, gotta cut off that point as we might see another fight here. The inhibitor is gonna go down, though. That's the 3rd inhibitor, but here's the quick. This is a 5 versus 4 team fight on this one. Ragnarok has been popped. Cosmic Radiance to try to keep the team alive, but JT is being hit upon. He's going to be put to sleep. Pops the stasis to try to keep himself alive for just a little bit longer. Xavier going very low, but he picks up the kill. JT has now found his way into the death chamber. Moyo as well. Pure Salt is still alive, but Squib on the backside, a double kill for him. He is just unkillable at this point. Pure Salt doing his best, but he's going to be taken out. It's a double kill for Bisk now, making up for the carries. We don't even need the traditional carries. We just need Bisk and Squib on the scene. JT and Moyo watching from the death chamber as it is an ace coming through, and TDMA find their way back into the series and pick it up 2-1 over the Syndicate, eliminating the defending champions and pushing themselves into the semifinals.
I can't believe my eyes, Carl. You know, I knew TDMA was first seed, but part of me just always believed in the Syndicate and thought they'd make it through, especially after Game 1. But wow, that was right now. They will be moving forward in the playoffs. We'll see if anyone can take them out. But yeah, with the defending champions removed, Carl, I'm not sure there's anyone good enough to do it.
Yeah, TDMA looking very good so far in this series and in these playoffs in general. They will face the winner of Bay Team and TDM. No Academy on that one, so Team Dark Matter versus Bay Team. That other quarterfinal, the winner of that will face TDMA in the semifinals. The winner qualifying for the grand finals, of course, of that match. Winner of that match qualifying for the grand finals to fight for a share of $200. The prize pool here in Season 2 of Style Esports, but a really nice series, I think, by both teams. Obviously, if you are a Syndicate fan, didn't quite go the way that you wanted to, but I think both teams had a pretty good performance in this series. Just in the end, TDMA came out a little bit on top.
They certainly did, and wow, that was one of the better series I think I've seen in Style Esports. That was a lot of fun to cast, so congratulations to both teams. Both of them did really well tonight, and thanks so much to the audience for watching this one. We've had a lot of fun with the finals so far this week, but this was definitely a highlight for me. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the rest of it.
Yeah, for sure. It's playoffs coming down to the last bit here. We will have the semifinals in just a couple of days, so proceeding at a pretty rapid rate, I would have to say. Definitely a shakeup to the bracket, having the Syndicate taken out in the quarterfinals. One of those kind of iconic teams if you're around the Style Esports world here. They are definitely monsters in their own right. We're the 3rd seed in this tournament, and they had to face the number 1 seed, and they were taken out by TDMA. So we'll see if TDMA can be stopped on their march to the finals, where they may meet a number of challengers over on the other side of the bracket. So we'll see how that all progresses. But yeah, really great series. Really enjoyed casting it, and good play all around by these players.
Yeah, absolutely. Could not agree more.
But we will see what's going on. We might have an interview coming up with one of the winners, trying to get that set up just briefly, see what they're thinking, pick their brain a little bit. So we'll get that set up. Got to get the people in here in just a couple of seconds, but someone from TDMA will be joining us. We have a request for Bisk, and I believe I hear a ding, and it looks like Bisk has entered the Discord call. If you can hear us, sir.
Yeah,
How you doing?
Good, good.
Looks like we're all good. Congrats on the win,
Thank
and
you.
welcome to the show.
That was a fun game. That was intense.
Yeah, it definitely looked fun. You had an absolutely monstrous Olaf game there in game 2. Do you have a lot of games on Olaf? Did you
Yeah.
think you were gonna be that dominant?
I was like, since I don't have like a Ezreal like the last game, something that could kite me that easily, I thought it was actually gonna be really well into the Yasuo. I just needed to farm up a little bit, get a couple items, and then that triple kill in the bot was sort of like the turning point for me. I was kind of just a monster after that.
Gotcha,
But
for sure.
Olaf's got to be like my most comfortable champion right now.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, you look super confident on the champion. So, when Xavian kind of picked it back to you, kind of that salty pick away, the first pick, what was your first reaction?
When they didn't ban it, I was like, okay, well, we're first picking that, or we're gonna pick it up. And they picked it. I was like, oh, the disrespect, man. So, something that was not like CC or Lion. I don't know. Echo seemed like a good pick. We just needed to stall it out till I got my items, because Olaf definitely wins earlier. But I thought we played the last game pretty well, mid to late.
Gotcha. Yeah, it seemed like a lot of times when you found Xavian in that game 3, either in the jungle or like after a play or something, you like flashed away from him immediately. It was like it was probably like some of the most respectful League of Legends I've ever seen. Like there was one time when you kind of blast coned over the back of Rip.
The Herald
saw him and then just immediately ulted. Yeah, immediately.
I was just going for like the miracle steal. If not, I'm out of there. I'm not fighting Olaf.
Yeah, it almost looked like you like input buffered the ultimate for a bit. It was like that was pretty crazy, but yeah, that was a really good series from you, man. I really enjoyed watching.
Yeah, thanks. That was like the most intense games we've had all season for sure.
Yeah,
like that was really intense in the moment. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, I absolutely echo that sentiment. Those are pretty crazy for Sal Esports League. But with the Wukong pick, what did you think your role was in that team comp? Because I think the Wukong pick is generally pretty appreciated. I think everyone thinks it's pretty strong right now. But what do you think your goal was with the rest of the team comp?
We were going for like the combo, the fight. So I personally thought we had enough damage that I could just go Cinder Hulk with it. So I was just going for the engage so Rakan could just follow up. But that game was just pretty bad for us. I don't think we played very well at all.
Gotcha. So just kind of the team fight ultimate engage. Yeah,
just for like the combo, and they had stuff like Taric, Vladimir, Ezreal. I could just dodge it, so that was a bit rough. I thought we got outdrafted that game, but yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So that was certainly one of the weaker points for you of that one, but even then you still did really well. So and that's why I wanted to get you the interview from you, man. But was there anything anyone you wanted to shout out? Anything you want to say?
It was actually Moyo's birthday today. We copped him the wins. So shout out Moyo, happy birthday, bro.
All right, happy birthday to Moyo. Well, thank you for being on. We appreciate having you, and congrats on the win moving forward in the final.
Thanks.
All right, I'll kick it back to you, Carl.
Thank you, of course, very much to Bisk again for that interview, and also happy birthday to Moyo, birthday boy. So good for him. Hope he is celebrating well wherever he is out there, and some good League of Legends is always a nice birthday present, I would think. So. Hope he's enjoying himself, but thank you all, everybody out there, Style Esports fans and friends, for tuning in this evening. We had definitely a very good series here between the Syndicate and TDMA. TDMA taking that win and moving on to the semifinals here in the Style Esports Season 2 playoffs. We will have much more playoff action coming your way, in the next week or so. Should have the finals sometime in next week. So make sure you top back for the rest of our playoff matches. For more information about Style Esports, our links are in the description of the stream below. Discord, website, YouTube, and some music credits can be found there. The full tournament standings can be found as well on the Discord server. If you do stop in and say hello to us, we're happy to talk to you. Give us some feedback. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. Just banter with us. It's all good. We're always here to talk to you if you do want. But that is going to wrap it up for us tonight. Thank you all so much for watching. I am Jarl Carl alongside Axeman87, and a special shout out to Sky Ripper for being our wonderful host and the voice in our ear tonight. Hope you all have a good night wherever you are around the world, and we will see you next time. Good night.